everybody, and welcome to the Salty Runback stream. I was just over on Challengers League. It's still pretty blue around here, but maybe a little bit more scuffed. All good nonetheless. We are finishing up the quarterfinals here of the NACLQ with Native Gaming up against Team Fish Taco. We got the podcast duo, Grapes and Hawk, at ya. Hawk, I know you were doing some CBLOL, but we're back here to cover NA and maybe the two best teams that we have in this tournament here in the quarters.
Yeah, I know. Both of us just hopping over from other streams to get on now, but Grapes, this is going to be... this is going to be a great matchup. This was one that was touted to potentially be a preview of the finals. Team Fish Taco and Native Gaming, the 1-2 seed going into OQ, the 2-3 coming out of the OQ, now meeting just in the first round of the knockout stage.
And I don't believe we actually got to see them play against each other in the open qualifier because TFT have dropped a game to CB Gaming early on in the OQ. So these two teams that have been so hyped up are now making their way in maybe a little bit earlier than we expected. Of course, TFT did drop a series to Doing Tony Top, who just 2-0'd over on Alk Battery's stream. Make sure to go check out them as well. But now they're headed into the quarterfinals. Nonetheless, they had a bit of a rough patch against Enigma, but came back. They're here. That's all you need. And now a chance to get into that top 4 for the first qual.
Truly. It's not quite been the crazy 2-1s that we saw yesterday, Grapes, but I mean, hey, we're here now in the second round, or the second part of the day for the quarterfinals, and it's going to be so good. And I mean, Native and TFT, we've sat here and talked about how good these teams are. Well, Grapes, maybe we should talk about why these teams are so good, because the pedigree of some of these players is just insane. There is LCS experience on the side of Team Fish Taco in multiple roles. Native Gaming have staples of the amateur scene, and we got some fiery rookies to boot.
Some players from LCS, players from Academy, players from ERLs, kind of all over the place making their way into this matchup. And that's why this has been these two teams being at the top of the table when it comes to people's considerations and expectations for who would be entering that promotion relegation tournament. Well, Hawk, this is a pretty big game for that event. You have to get 20 more points for winning this series, and the loser is going to be stuck, I believe, at 60 for the first qualifier, which is not necessarily where you want to be when you consider the fact that only 4 teams will make it into that event.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, being top 4 matters so insanely much. Like last year, as long as you made like one semi, you were pretty good to get into proving rounds. This time around, you've got to consistently show that you are a top 4 team. I mean, semis at minimum in one of the tournaments feels like that's where the line's going to be. And again, both these teams are ones that aren't just eyeing semifinals. They are eyeing the championship. They are eyeing that shot at promoting into the NACL up against some of those provisional teams. And I mean, we've been talking about LCS and Academy experience, right? And immediately I feel like, Grapes, our eyes should be drawn to the top side of the map for Team Fish Taco. Yep. Alorum and Dardoch, the top laner and jungler of this team, I mean, bringing so much experience to the table for what is a very talented roster.
Yeah, of course, we can talk about the bot side a little bit later, but when we think about these two players, so many years of experience, whether it's in LCS, Academy, semi-pro, everywhere, these players have been at it. And a bit of a different look on the other side for Native. Of course, you have Shocky, who is, I believe, 17, so it's a pretty large age discrepancy between the top side of the map, and then Fnatic as well, who many are considering to be one of the best players in the qualifiers, who has had some really good games throughout. And so I'm excited for this top side matchup. I think maybe, Alorum has seen some opportunities where he's struggled a little bit, especially in the laning phase, but Shocky's really gonna have to prove himself as being somebody capable of taking a Titan like this down.
And it is going to be a really exciting matchup between these two players, the young versus the old, the zoomer versus the boomer, however you want to phrase it, right? But, I mean, I do want to point out that this is not where the series will necessarily be won and lost. And, in fact, it hasn't been the LCS veterans for TFT that have been carrying them to their wins. Grapes, there is a little player down in the bottom lane for Team Fish Taco named Red. And Red has been smurfing it in this team's wins. Look, Team Fish Taco, they've not been quite as clean, I think, as we expected, Grapes, but one player has remained clean throughout, and that's Red.
Red has had some really, really impressive games on a lot of different champions. We saw the Zeri go off, the Lucian Nami go off. Caitlyn has been a credible pick for him as well. And even on the Jhin in Game 3 against Enigma,
Yeah.
basically was the lone reason for them winning that game. And I'm excited to see how that bot lane ends up working out. We are still on patch 13.1b, which means the meta remains rather similar to what we've been seeing over these past couple of months, but still a lot of different opportunities here for these bot laners. We see the
Yep.
jungles being matched though as we open up this first rotation.
Yep, Sejuani Maokai, very, very standard handshake. Other options up and available. Ashe is a really big one. Ashe Maokai, generally considered to be a very powerful early rotation, generates a lot of pressure on the map. It has the flex potential as well between bot and support. Now, Red, not exactly been the Ashe player, and that's exactly why, because of that carry potential that we've cited. Picking up the Zeri instead. Lulu could be paired alongside it. Now, I think handshaking away Ashe could be fine. Scooped also could go towards something like the Sivir as well, Grapes.
There's a lot of different options here. The one thing I might be considering here for native is that Rhino has not really played any ranged supports so far in this
Right.
event. It's been all Braum, Nautilus, and one Blitzcrank
Ooh,
game. We're
okay.
going to see the script flip a little bit here. The Lulu going to be locked in alongside the Sivir. Hard scaling bot laners is what we are expecting here in this game number 1.
Yeah, I don't think it's that Rhino can't play them right. It's just that's not been the identity. But denying the Lulu from the Zeri is very impactful, and you're able to pair it with Sivir, which is really strong. However, Grapes, to your point, we'll have to see how Rhino is able to operate on this champion that is a departure from the style that we've seen so far. Speaking of departure from style, Alistar, the old school counter pick to the Sivir. Grapes, I know on our note sheet you put that Winter is the GOAT and can be given anything.
It was late at night. I was running out of time.
Hey, but I mean, it's true. They're putting him on the cow, so it's working. And now, I mean, getting into the second round of picks and bans, very standard so far. We've got bot lanes locked in. We've got tanks locked in. The Alistar might be the one lone wrinkle, but I'm looking at tanks in the top lane. I think the big thing, Grapes, is going to be mid matchup. Counter pick for Comp 9. What do you go for so you can try to put down messages?
And interestingly enough, as we enter this second phase, the two picks that we are associating Comp 9 with most often, the Vladimir and the Vel'Koz, have not been banned away by native just yet. It
Yeah.
seems like Taki and the rest of the squad are pretty comfortable with maybe allowing some of these pocket picks to come through. We've seen Vladimir banned in a lot of the games that TFT have played, but we have not seen Comp 9 whip them out even in the opportunities that he has been given. So it'll be a cool chance to see where Team Fish Taco relies on this. Of course, on the last stream, we saw Lit have the Rengar open and Munchie not going for it. So maybe that's a situation where, Comp 9 wants to feel like he's confident on these other champions as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Comp 9, unpicked and unbanned was the Vladimir in the series against D and Tony Top. So it's definitely not been like the pick, but bans to Victor and Azir actually could signal something like that. But no, it's just potentially going to be in Annie. I don't want to talk too much about hovers, but I mean, a champion that it's not the new patch. This is 13.1b, so I'd be really surprised to see it locked in. I'm expecting counter pick for Comp 9 because the bans that came through, A, signal it could be Vladimir, and B, Akali, Silas, champions, or Silas is banned, but Akali, having the Victor removed gives it so much agency in the lane. I also could see something like a Talia potentially coming out as well. There's not a whole lot of value for it yet, but just going down the tier list.
Yep, that Jace lock-in is going to be mid lane. Alorum, I don't think really plays that pick up in the top side.
That's true.
Top 9,
that is true. Not an Alorum champ.
But it does mean that there's a lot of physical damage on the side for TFT. Of course, Zeri does mixed damage. Maokai does a little bit with the Demonic Embrace, but it's probably going to be a tank up in the top lane for Team Fish Taco, which opens up some possibilities for what Shocky will want to whip out. Is it going to be the preemptive counter for this, where you know that Alorum's going to pick a tank, so you pick something that will counter any of them with a Gwen lock-in potentially?
Gwen Akali 4-5 would be pretty bold from native, but you know what, Grapes? I like it because Team Fish Taco not having the best lockdown. Yeah, there's a Maokai. Yeah, there is an Alistar, but they have to pick and choose their targets, right? And so it's going to be difficult to deal with both these champions. And if you're spending all your time dealing with Akali and Gwen as well, you got Sivir dealing the damage from the backside. Now, the Mordekaiser hover is spicy. Alorum definitely thinking about what he wants. It is probably just going to be a handshake. The Grog is very safe. It's going to be able to neutralize up against this Gwen, but giving Shocky a free lane. And look, Grapes, we've been talking about how Shocky is this exciting young player. I mean, to be honest, he's been a bit of a Cassante one trick so far in the tournament. 4 out of 5 games played on that champion. The other one was a Renekton. So given the keys to a carry now on the Gwen, we'll see what he's able to do with it.
And I think this is a really good opportunity for Shockey. You know, he came into onto native. There were other options for them to pick up. People like Dragoon, who might be a little bit more experienced, but they went with this young top laner who they really thought had the opportunity to, you know, grow a lot as a player throughout these qualifiers. And, you know, was known in solo queue for playing things like Renekton, Camille, Aatrox,
Mhm.
Aurelia. Haven't seen that much of that in the qualifiers here. We've instead, again, seen a lot of tank play, seen some Cassante most of the time, but now has the opportunity to play against Alorum, who, while a very experienced player, maybe not necessarily the one who's going to gap you super hard in the laning phase unless he's on some AD Nico kind of weird stuff. So a Gwen here, a really good opportunity for him to prove himself,
Right.
and will open up doors for native because the rest of the team composition kind of just wants to scale up.
Exactly. I mean, Alorum, I feel like can oftentimes be associated as a player that will very rarely win you the game, but also will never lose you the game, right? And sometimes that is extremely valuable. But Grapes, the compositions have been locked in, and the goal is clear: team fighting across the board. But where are the mismatches? The big one that my eyes are drawn to off the bat is messages in a Comp 9 Akali Jace. It is an explosive mid matchup, and especially if messages is able to get going, this game will get very difficult for Team Fish Taco. But likewise, that wrinkle that was thrown in for the GOAT support, as you so wrote it, Winter, has the Alistar. We'll see how he's able to influence the map, influence these lanes, and make things difficult for the lives of native gaming.
I wrote the goat for Winter. I also wrote the goat for Scoop because I was, you know,
Yes.
running out of time as well. Just a lot
Everyone's a
of
GOAT. Everyone's a
everyone's
GOAT.
really good. Yeah, these are
Yeah.
again these the two most hyped up rosters coming into the qualifier season. Of course, we've seen teams like Maryville and Doing 20 Top really come out strong here, both already punching their tickets into the semifinals. But it's pretty easy. It's a pretty easy thing to say that whoever wins this game between these two teams would be a big favorite to maybe make it out
Yeah.
on top out of all of the teams that have entered the NACLQ.
And especially imagine you don't just win the series, but imagine winning convincingly if you're one of these teams against who was expected to be your top competition. I mean, that's a statement. A statement win is available for these teams. But I know we're hoping not for convincing. We want the crazy 3-game bloodbath. We want to see these teams throwing haymakers at each other the whole time. And I mean, that's what I'm expecting. It might look like a bit of a snoozer draft. It might look like one where we're just going to scale up and team fight. But when there's little wrinkles like that Alistar, like that Akali, I know I'm looking at these teams to get scrappy and to throw those big punches early on in game one.
It's very, very exciting to see these two teams play. It's been a wild day, I think, for both of us. I still haven't tweeted about this. I'm gonna go over and do that right now. What should I write? What should I write here? Let's come up with a message.
Are
We're
we
waiting for
live
the
tweeting this?
yeah, we're waiting for the delay to finish up. So let's
Yeah,
hit
yeah,
something
yeah. You know, we got match number 1 live, or match number 2, game 1, with the best caster ever at Hawkcast. Yeah,
Yep, okay.
that's the most important
Not
part. I
gonna
don't
do
care what
that.
else you say,
Not
but
gonna do that.
what?
I'm still typing. Okay, fresh out of town. Hop in for me and some other guy. Yep.
Some other guy. Oh my heart.
Just
This
kidding.
guy's
I'm
egoing
not
me
gonna.
on the
I'm not gonna.
stream,
I'm not
man.
gonna.
That
I'm
is
not gonna.
cringe.
These two teams. As we get back, we're just waiting again for the delay to finish up. It's gonna be exciting. I mean, yeah, we have a lot of different windows around here, but again, the bot lane is where we were looking. Red and Scooped have some really good pieces, and they have the tools, I think, to really take over this game.
Yeah, truly. I mean, again, it's really going to come down to that early mid matchup, early support matchup. Also, Grapes. I mean, we've hardly talked about these players. Dardoch and Fnatic, the jungle matchup. One with LCX experience. One has been said to potentially be the best player in this entire tournament. I mean, yes, they're on the Sejuani Maokai. Yes, it's boring. But if they've showed us anything right, these are the kind of players that can facilitate their lanes the way that they need to and impact the game in a meaningful way. So, I mean, I'm ready for it. I'm looking to see where they go early on in the game to potentially break things open.
The tweet has been sent. We are on to the Rift. Everything
Perfect
is good to
timing.
go for this quarterfinal matchup. Native Gaming against Team Fish Taco. A new face to amateur versus one of the staples for multiple years. Gonna be a fun one in the best of 3.
The tweet was very important because you know, it is going to be a great series. And again, it can't be overstated. Potentially a preview of the finals, or rather what would have been the finals if they didn't meet each other right here. TFT, they stumbled against Dooy and Tony Top in the group stage, but they're here now looking to take down one of the favorites, as everybody just goes for a little bit of a 5-point.
I have a feeling, Hawk, it's going to be a relatively slow early game. I know the junglers are able to get out on the map a lot, but
Blazing hot take right
we
there.
might have a lot to talk about. If you have any like any interesting like podcast moments that we could discuss, this is our thing, talking about the game and things kind of tangentially related. We might have to start to ready those up for at least the first couple of minutes.
Right, of course, yeah. We got to get the memes on deck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Junglers starting topside. That's exciting, right? We love jungle starts. Woo! Pathing towards bot lane in 2023.
Never seen that before.
Yeah, no, that has never happened. This is truly innovative technology right here.
A lot of things to talk about though, as we await for the eventual crazy team fights that are sure to unfold. I'm again interested in this bot side. Rhino and Winter are two. If you are a fan of Amateur and have been since like 2020, 2021, you see these two players and think this is gonna be a fun game. They're like probably two of the best supports that have been around for a while.
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, they are very experienced players. I mean, that is definitely for both these teams. It may come in different places, but the mixture of experienced players as well as younger players is truly a sight to behold. Each one having 3 long-standing veterans and 2 slightly newer, slightly more explosive players. We are seeing the downside of picking Alistar, that you completely cede the level 1 because the champion doesn't do anything. Scooped and Rhino taking a nice bit of control, and that probably will be the story of this laning phase until the threat of an all-in does come through around level 2 and 3.
Yep, they're gonna stack 3 full waves underneath the tower. We don't see Fnatic around to try and make a play. Both junglers are pathing down towards the spot side in case anything gets a little bit out of hand. But I think Winter and Red are gonna be okay as soon as they pick up this level 2 to get as much farm out of this wave as they possibly can.
They're already working down a plate. I mean, just a really nice 3-wave crash. So Fnatic as well could go for the early jungle invade. We've seen this so frequently from junglers this year. They full clear their top side, then they do their red, and then they walk in just as Fnatic is doing to look to contest towards additional camps. Dardoch, only about half HP, cannot fight this one-on-one. Might end up losing the blue.
Wow, yeah, actually gonna dash forward with the Arctic Assault. Dardoch uses the Bramble Smash to get Fnatic out of there, and I think the blue buff will likely go the way of TFT. They are seeing a lot of pressure though. Red and Winter have managed to clear the wave out, but that wave is gonna come crashing back sooner than later.
Yeah, it's just a standard clear. Again, I mean, even though Fnatic doesn't really get anything, you're just being annoying, and you're forcing a response out of TFT as well. It's just sort of showing them that you mean business on the bottom lane a little bit, right? It's like, hey, like, this jungle's mine. This map's mine.
A lot of pressure though in the bot side, and it favors Scooped and Rhino, who are on the double range versus having the Alistar in the early game. Not necessarily the easiest champion to navigate until you get a couple minutes into the game. Hellbat Pulverize was great. Don't know if it's going to do a whole lot until Red starts to unfold a little bit.
Winter just doing a little bit of posturing of his own. Like, hey, you told me to back up, I'm going to tell you to back up. Does that successfully. Scooped has run himself out of mana as Rhino seems to be lagging just a little bit. Does a little DC come back. It's the benefit of the delay.
That's the point. That's why we delayed 3 minutes. To make sure that there's no weird pauses at the beginning, and also to ensure competitive integrity, because that's going to be very important right here. And all in the bot lane will go the way of Native as Scooped and Rhino pick up first blood.
Turns out Scoop doesn't really need mana. Rhino goes down, and Grapes, we were looking at these bot laners to be the big carries, especially Red for TFT, and that is a great start for Native Gaming. I mean, Scoop having a phenomenal tournament so far, having been, again, one of the big carries for his team, and being able to get an edge in this scaling 2v2 can really influence the game as it progresses.
We'll see if an answer is made on the other side, though. Dardoch has been spotted out by a ward, and I don't think he will be able to go for anything on to Scooped and Rhino. So they're going to get a nice reset off. Big advantage going the way of Native to start off this first game.
Messages does need to be careful. He sees Winter just behind him. He's going to say hello.
A lot of damage. Wow.
Level 5 to level 3. Not going to be able to walk back to the wave, though. Feels bad, man. But, I mean, Message is already doing pretty well into the Jace matchup. Early pre-6 Akali is pretty much the weakest time of the game for this champion in any matchup. And so only being down a few CS, also forcing out the early Hex Drinker from Comp 9 is pretty good for Native Gaming. Grapes, honestly, as expected, it has been that quieter early game, but Dragon now on the map, Herald up in 2 minutes. That's sort of what I'm looking at to be the first big moment where these teams collide.
A little bit of trading in mid, but I don't think that they're going to want to do anything too aggressive. You see Comp 9 going for the Hex Drinker to just ensure his safety until we get a little bit later into this game. As will be Native, getting priority around this bot side of the map as they have for this entire start to the game. And Fnatic going to try and start up this Hex Sector.
Nicely done by Native. They're just using the pressure that they've already obtained and denying that sort of early fight from TFT and just allowing them to continue playing the scaling game again. I mean, I know sounds like a broken record, right? But that's what happens in the 13.1B meta. It is pretty stock standard. And I'm really looking at for Team Fish Taco Grapes Winter to get out on the map and find windows to start creating plays for this team, because it feels like it's gonna be really difficult for TFT to ever get kills in these lanes if the Alistar is not there, just due to the slippery nature of the likes of Gwen and Akali and the massive defense that Lulu can provide.
Again, Fnatic hovering around this bottom side of the map. We see Winter kind of headbutt scooped away, but Native already trying to make another play on the bot side. Fnatic will follow with the flash as well, and Winter is just been the target here in this early game. Another kill going the way of the Native bot lane, as this time Scoop will be able to pick it up.
Oh, and Red forced to cleanse flash away as well. Nice fade away from Fnatic. It's just another clean gank. Winter didn't have the flash, gets taken down. Pre-6 Alistar, all too easy, and Scooped really starting to get going. TFT, they're not finding advantages anywhere else in response.
Really good start here for the side of Native, as a bit of a pause has opened up here. We want to just make sure that everything is good for the players before we get back into the game. And just overall, though, really good start for Native. You know, they had this advantageous bot lane matchup. You know, Winter onto the Alistar, which might help out on roams, but not necessarily in the lane. And with that priority, both Scooped and Fnatic have been able to get some really big advantages down there.
Yeah, and it just is concerning. That's sort of the disadvantage of picking things like Gragas on the top side, because when one side of the map falls apart, you don't really have a good answer. Gragas, Maokai, there's no way in hell you're ever killing that Gwen, right? So Shocky just being chilling up in top lane, able to farm up, and it's letting Native just win around the map.
It's a good start for them. Of course, the scaling still is there for Team Fish Taco. They have a really good front line that can help Red and Comp just do a boatload of damage if we get a little bit later on. But right now, if Native is able to continue this play, they're looking pretty good. And I know both of these teams have seen some adversity throughout the start of this qualifier. Native, of course, dropping a game to CB, and also Team Fish Taco dropping a whole series to Doing and Tony Top. You know, this is maybe these two dominant teams, they had some missteps, but I think this has been good opportunities for them to find opportunities to improve and maybe look even better than they would have coming into this quarterfinal matchup.
I mean, if anything, right, it shows that they have mistakes that can be punished, which is important. You know, even though you're a top team, it doesn't mean that you are infallible. By the way, it's really annoying that Native dropped the game to CB, because it made me very wrongfully and confidently predict CB to beat Winthrop. That obviously did not happen. So, just, again, making me look a little bit foolish.
Oh, no. Oh, Red has to jump away from the wall. Now Scooped.
Winter's dead.
And Rhino, maybe leaving Winter out to drive once again. Not enough damage just yet with only the Noon Quiver in inventory, but it looks like Scooped and Rhino are still going to continue to have their way in this lane.
That's always the funny thing about Zeri lanes, right? When she gets engaged on, she just skates out over the wall. She says, see you later, support. And Winter, fortunately, was fine this time around. Native is getting forced off this Herald. They had started it up while the action was happening. Their bot lane is not going to be first to this play. Winter has already made the move without basing. So Team Fish Taco, they will gain a meaningful advantage, the first one of the game.
It's a good turn. Of course, it seems like Alorum and Shocky are going relatively even. Darduck was able to find an opportunity, pick up the objective, and maybe try to funnel some gold into a target or a champion that he thinks and the rest of the team thinks would be good to get ahead a little bit more. And you can already see Comp 9 having a pretty good time against messages in this laning phase with the range versus melee matchup, taking a plate. And you might think Darduck would want to continue that with maybe dropping that Herald down there.
Yeah, Comp 9 doing very well. Jace, of course, is a champion that scales extremely well into the game. Again, we're looking at team fighting. Champion is very proficient in that stage of the game. And I mean, again, everyone goes back to farming. I think the critical thing about the Herald going down is not just that TFT was able to get it, but there wasn't able to be a big fight with the Akali, but Rhino.
Maybe a train here. There comes the knock-up as well. Nature's Grasp comes out. It's going to get blocked by the spell shield of Scoop, so it means that Native's bot lane will survive. Now, what can the turn look like on the other side? Winter is taking a whole lot of damage. Fnatic is on the way as well. Will he try to go for a potential dive? There's not a whole lot of minions on this wave, but it looks like Native want to go for this. Here comes the Shock Blast coming out from Red. And I think that is enough for Team Fish Taco to deter a trade for now. But here comes Fnatic. There are no minions under the tower, so it is very risky. But they've already taken down Winter, and Fnatic gets out safely with the Arctic Assault. Dardoch and Comp9 are here to try and take down the Sejuani, but Message is looking to try and follow as well. They get one pick onto the Sedge, but another kill over the way of Native. Winter is 0-3. Not a great start for the support of Team Fish Taco.
No, they're bullying this poor cow. Level 5 doesn't have the unbreakable will to get out of that ult, but I mean, a very ambitious dive. It is traded back critically. Grapes, it went to EU Red. Now 1-0 on the Zeri. The carry is starting to come online, now equalizing the kill score between him and Scoop. So having a bit of a CS lead, so it's not a complete disaster for TFT, and honestly, the lead stays pretty stagnant.
It's actually pretty impressive for Red to be up CS in this matchup, despite having the disadvantageous lane with the melee support up against the Lulu, and also just being pushed into multiple times, has been able to work on a pretty significant lead. And Rhino and Fnatic still going in onto Winter, who has not hit level 6 just yet. Meanwhile, top lane solo kill for Alorum as Messages cleans up on the other side.
Okay, I did not have that on my bingo card. The Gragas solo kill coming in on the Gwen. Alorum says, look, you may be young, but you ain't me. Takes him out with the belly bop. Meanwhile, I mean, yeah, Winter drops. Unlucky, right? But, I mean, up top from Alorum going into the pocket of Scoop.
So good advantage maybe on the bot side, thanks to another kill onto Winter. And we were just hoping that he hits level 6 as soon as possible, because he has been very, very vulnerable in this early game. And it's right now a slight lead for Native, but they overall have gold in the right places. Scooped is ahead, Messages got a kill, and Shocky will be okay despite falling. And it will be another dragon picked up for them as well. So it is another good chance for them to start to take control, as the scaling will start to work up for them here.
And as we get into the mid game, those two dragons that Native has are going to be pretty impactful, especially with Infernal Soul being the one on the board. It's going to start to force Team Fish Taco to fight when they might not necessarily want to. Shocky has moved over to mid. They're flashing in.
There comes the stun as well. Comp9 is just so dead. Another easy kill for Messages and the rest of Native. And now Team Fish Taco gonna try to fight on the other side. Red popping the lightning crash, forcing the flash out of Scoop, but here comes the rest of the bullets. Rat-ta-ta-ta into the back of the Sivir. That's another kill. Goes the way of TFT. Rhino has the level 6, so will be a little bit more vulnerable, durable, but not gonna want to chase in onto Rhino.
And it's a nice trade back. Red picking up another one. The big carry for TFT starting to get a little scary, Grapes, but again, it's Native just a little bit ahead of the play once again. And if we're looking at in the mid game, Native being potentially in a position to force TFT to fight them, that means that you need your item spikes on Red. Picking up kills like that is going to be so impactful.
2-0-0. Despite all the attention that has been thrown his way at the start of this matchup, it is him who is actually probably one of the stronger members in the game right now. But we have to take a look at where the Native have been getting the rest of their advantages as well. Messages is now 2-0, and it's going to be a pretty scary target if he can get onto the Zeri.
Winter hovering around mid, and no objectives for a little bit. We do have the Herald spawning in just under a minute. That might be where these teams are looking, but a lot of attention being played towards bottom side. I feel like at this point, everyone has just sort of realized that the 80 carries, that late game, are where we're looking. But Grapes, it cannot be understated. Messages having 2 kills on this Akali. We were looking at this to be the most volatile matchup early on, and with that second kill onto Comp9, that does give Native Gaming a pretty substantial point of pressure that they can look to exploit. Everybody moving as a team. No team wants to give up a bad engage. Let a member get isolated and taken down. They are all calling up their guys here in the river, making sure they keep each other safe.
And again, it comes down to the 80 carries. They have been the focus for both of these teams throughout the game, whether it's Red getting kills here and there or Scoop just getting a lot of assistance from Fnatic down in the bottom lane. These are the champions that are going to be huge once we get to the later team fighting portions of this first matchup, and it is why there's so much attention up there. Meanwhile, Alorum just took first tower, and that is a Night Harvester on him as well.
Yeah, the Herald was summoned up there a little while earlier while we were talking, and especially with the solo kill. I mean, Alorum not going for the tank Gragas. I like it, saying, all right, you know, it's my time to shine. I'm fed. I can make some plays here. Has the first strike as well. And I mean, this is going to be a scary Gragas as we get into the later stages of the game. Shocky has really struggled. Again, first game on a true carry so far at this tournament. A very highly touted and hyped player coming out of the native tryouts and getting onto the team. And look, Gwen, way more of a scaling champion than she used to be, right? Before, she was really great in lane against a lot of matchups and scaled like a beast. Now, her power budget has been shifted a lot more to be indexed towards scaling. So it's not like Shocky is out of the game by any means, but I mean, Alorum equalizing the gold pretty much single-handedly.
It's actually, yeah, really helpful up on the top side, and will also provide a lot of additional magic damage for this Team Fish Taco team. We were maybe a little bit worried that they would be heavily indexed into AD with Comp 9 on the Jace, but opening up some more avenues for some AP scaling to come through, especially against somebody like Fnatic, who is going to be stacking a lot of resistances. And we see Team Fish Taco, they have been continuing this domination around the top side of the map. They rotate Red and Rhino back, sorry, they rotate Red and Winter up to the top side, and they're going to take the second rift as well.
They are losing a tower for bot and Prio over mid, so it's not without a cost. Everything has an equal and opposite reaction here in League of Legends. Messages just trying to control this mid wave. That mid tier 1 will stay standing, so it's just one tower for a little bit of flex.
I thought he heard me. He's gonna go in. We are on a delay, so that of course never happened. But some styling out of native.
He heard you 3 minutes in the future calling his name. You know, Grapes whispering in his ear, "Take it, take the E."
Yeah. I don't know about that, but messages. He wants to style nonetheless. I feel like that's something that we have seen. His name is his nickname is Messeriz for a reason. Kind of likes showing his stuff across the rift. And it is just maybe another opportunity to show some nice moves here. The Dragon hasn't started
up. The first big one of the game?
Yeah, this would be sole point for Native if they're able to pick it up. So TFT know that they want to try and go for this here. It will be, though, Native regaining priority. Fnatic has the smite, but so does Dardoch, and Native in a really good position to try and maybe find an engage.
TFT, they're on the Dragon. Winter actually ends up grouping up with the team. It's Native now with the flank. It's a very dangerous position to be in with the Gwen, with the Akali. Look at messages.
They're going to try to lock down this Akali, but Winter unable to get that pull onto him. The Baron's at 5k. I don't know if TFT want to go in too far. There comes the Glacial Prison. It will only lock out Comp 9. And it looks like TFT, they want to go forward instead. They hit Rhino off, but in comes Messages, and the flank is definitely big out of the side of Native Gaming. Messages jumps forward onto Winter, picks up another kill, and Shocky will run through them all with the scissors. A kill onto Alorum will deal them a double kill, as Dardoch will have to run for the hills with the soul point going over to Native.
And it's an ace as well, Grapes. Native pulls the trigger. The patience right there was beautiful. TFT, they didn't have the champions to mark the flanks against Shocky and Messages. And even though the engage, they one-shot Rhino, it was good. Messages just crushes the fight.
And it was just such a great setup coming out from Native. They knew that Taco had to run into them if they wanted to have a chance at denying this potential soul point. And so Native set up their soul laners beautifully. The flank came in, everybody collapsed in onto the back line, and it was just too easy for Native as they just picked up 5 kills with only losing 1.
And that is the mark of a top team, that level of coordination, patience. It's easy to make a mistake, to get hot-headed in a tense moment like that, but Native Gaming, they never lost their cool. They never lost coordination. They waited for the opportune moment. They waited for TFT to go past the point of no return, and it was only then that they pounced. Now Winter might get caught out again.
Oh, he has just been targeted so much in this game. The 6th death for the poor little Alistar. And there's no Baron to take just yet, but Native is looking like in a good position to maybe look to start that up when it ends up spawning.
Yeah, this game feels like a slaughterhouse, unfortunately, for Winter, as there has been a lot of burgers flipped on this rift with that dead cow. 062, Grapes, it's not really been Winter's game.
The lane really was a rough point. I think that Taco thought, okay, you know, we see the Sivir Lulu, but we think that we can get out of this lane. We can survive it and then have Winter be big later on. But he just got targeted so hard pre-6 and allowed for people like even Messages to come down there and pick up some kills. So it just really got the snowball rolling, and he's going to have to come up with some big team fights if he wants to help turn this game around for his team. But Native already forcing the initiative. They're going to start up the Baron right as it spawns and force Taco to at least check the pit.
I love that. I love that from Native Gaming. Just starting it up, getting pressure for Messages on the top side. He has a teleport as well. There are wards behind the Baron pit. Team Fish Taco, they do summon up the Herald though. So again, Native is really struggling to get their own advantages. Team Fish Taco is doing a great job of answering back on a lot of these plays. The problem comes in the fights. We saw how dominant Native was in the last one, and now they're running it again.
Might look for a flank, but right now Native's going to try to fight this out 4v5. The Needlework does so much damage.
TP behind.
Messages will TP towards the bot lane. We'll maybe look for a potential engage.
Winter no ult.
See Alorum at least checking him out a little bit, and they might try to actually focus their attention towards this Akali. Message is going to have to try to run away. Good job from Taco to try and engage. But the punishment here on the other side is Native cracking open this tier 2.
Yeah, it could just be an inhibitor going down as well. Team Fish Taco, they got to make a decision. You got to run at somebody. Winter, remember, no ultimate. Could get one shot at a moment's notice. They're split.
Fnatic is running in, but actually does take a lot of damage. The Wild Growth comes in, but it's not enough to finish him off. Alarm gets the kill, but in comes Messages onto the backside. Perfect execution. Wet still to be used, but he goes golden at only 1 HP. Watch Red on the backside. Still untouched. Still trying to find something, but Shocky comes through, picks up a double kill onto the Gwen, and it looks like Native are going to still run away with this fight. They go 3 for 1.
Team Fish Taco goes down, and Native, another 10 sequence, managed to perfection. The patience from this team is insane. Grapes, Fnatic finally decides to go in once again, and this time it was Shocky crushing the fight on this Gwen for 1-4.
Bided his time. Got solo killed once. That's all right. We're going to continue to scale, pick up that second item, and just rip through everybody on TFT. It was in both fights that he actually just had such amazing angles, and because everybody's focusing Messages and Scoop, these players that got some leads early, nobody's really paying attention to Shocky, and he has the items, and he has the ability to just go in and tear everybody apart.
I mean, Grapes, these fights just feel unwinnable for TFT, and it's not because they're necessarily playing them bad, but it's just for how well Native Gaming is playing them. And now with the gold advantage that they have, 4,000, 22.5 minutes, it's going to get even harder. Now you've got to start outplaying if you're going to have any hope in hell at pulling out a W right here in this game. And now, Grapes, we're talking about Shocky, you know, getting solo killed. You're a top laner. Is there like mental warfare involved of like, oh, I'm going to give him a kill so he thinks I'm bad, and then I'll start styling on him later?
I'm not smart enough for that. It's just kidding. I'm not good enough for that either. But maybe Shocky actually getting caught out. Pops the stopwatch here. Messages misses out on the ulti and gonna get headbutted away. Red is still alive, and they get the first kill on the side of Taco. Nature's Grasp comes out. The health bars are low. That's just hitting the Shuriken. Will he go in onto Red? He gets rooted up. Has to burn the Hourglass. And now Taco might have found an opportunity. Here comes the body slam. Comes through. Fnatic will cancel the takeaway of the Blast Cone. And Native still have the health advantage, which means they can continue to push in onto the Drake.
Winter able to get out. They didn't see him. Team Fish Taco, they're going to try to re-engage this. Remember, this is Soul, as you just said. Red is so low. He does have Flash. So does Comp 9. That is critical. TP coming back in from Alorum to be full HP.
It is still the numbers advantage.
How do you manage
here
this? Shocky's up
at 8. There comes the body slam. Alorum might have won the fight for TFT. That is 2 kills going down. Fnatic and Rhino dead.
Can he do it?
Right. But the health bars are still in favor of Native. Here comes the teleport in from Shocky. Has the Gwen. Has
They're so low.
Here. And it doesn't look like they want to turn on to this TFT. They're in so much trouble here. The health bars are low, but they have to fight for this Drake. What can Shocky find? Can he get in onto the backline with the needlework? The first proc has been popped. Here comes the rest of the team. They're trying to lock down this one. The Dragon gets secured by Taco, but Native will pick up 2 kills in response. Scoop will fall on the backside, but it's still a win regardless for TFT. They get the kills and they prevent the Soul from going over.
And the gold is almost equalized as well, Grapes. That's an objective bounty picked up and multiple shutdowns. Messages gonna try to find out Comp 9, he's dead. And that does even up the play a little bit, but wow, what a messy fight that one was, Grapes. These teams in game 1, we wanted to see haymakers, and damn, are we seeing them.
Man, I can't believe TFT found that angle. I mean, Alorum just was able to come in, 2-man body slam onto some really crucial targets for Native, and they were able to just find the numbers advantage, and they were playing on knife's edges left and right. Red was at 1 HP for seemingly the entire portion of that engage, but they were still able to find the Dragon. Even though Shocky came in with the TP, it didn't matter. They were still able to get the kills on the backside, and now the gold is only 1K apart with this Baron on the Rift again.
I mean, this game all of a sudden so even. It just goes to show, no matter what your lead may be, it all comes down to execution. It was Native executing the earlier team fights. That time, it was Team Fish Taco. Maybe a mistake on Shocky could be argued, but either way, Native, they're now forced to make a play,
Messages.
but Red
has the jump to get away, but Messages come in with the perfect execution, trying to lock down Winter. Has not popped the Unbreakable Will just yet, but Alorum is trying to buy as much time as he can. Comp waiting in on the flank. Remember, the Baron is up. If a fight comes any team's way, it will be the objective going into their favor. Nature's Grasp comes out. Taco wants to force Native out of their own jungle, and they will not be able to find anybody on the roots.
Rhino is barely able to get out of dodge. I think he was one shot if that root lands, and again, the game on a knife's edge, but it's Team Fish Taco. They're controlling the top river. They're the ones threatening towards the Baron. There's no way they start this, right? They've got to just be clearing vision.
There's a TP on Messages, but the damage is
they're
high.
doing
There's a Jace and a Zeri here.
This is crazy.
Try and finish off this objective. Alorum is trying to keep Native away, but they are going to force a 5v5.
No flash on Comp.
Can anybody get into the pit to try and stop this objective from going down? The Shock Blast lands onto Scoop. He's already chunked out pretty low, but watch Messages on the flank. He's going to jump in onto Alorum, but going to get stopped here by the Gragas. They go into the pit. The
2000!
Can Team Fish Taco pick it up? They drop Winter in response, and the Baron goes into their pit. But can Native win? They pick up 1. Everybody is trapped in there. Fish in a barrel to Native Gaming. It's a triple kill for Scoop, and the fight goes so much into Native's favor, they might try to end the game right here.
Native, they're going to run it down mid. It's only EU Red alive. He's got the flash. He's got the cleanse. Let's see what they're able to do. The death timers might not be long enough, Grapes, but Shirelia's coming in.
At least an inhibitor going down. Winter will spawn in 10 seconds.
TP
comes in from Messages, and it is just going to be too
they
hard
have it?
for Red to get
20 seconds.
Game. Red has been the young star for Taco. Can he be the difference maker in this fight? The needlework comes down. He already has to flash away. The shield bow has been procced, and Winter's going to go down as well. 7 seconds.
7 seconds.
Gardock is almost alive as well. The Nexus is soon to be exposed.
That's it.
Native wants to hit it, and nobody will from Taco will be there in time. They get the Baron. They lose the Nexus. Native win game 1.
Grapes, after all of that, it's a 27-minute game. I mean, one mistake. Team Fish Taco, they force the Baron. They get the Baron, but they drop 4. And Native, the confidence to say, we can end this game. That is the closest 27-minute game I've ever seen in my life.
One last fight was all it took, and we said we had our reservations about TFT starting up that Baron. Not only because it could have gotten stolen away, but because if a fight was won, they already cracked open that tier 2 on that earlier play from the kind of trader on the Dragon with Messages coming in with the teleport. So it was really easy for Native to run it down mid, end the game, even though the Baron went over to TFT.
Yeah, I mean, that was just incredible. And the confidence as well for Native to not only say we can end the game, but we're going to dive these Nexus towers to make sure that Winter and Red, rather, can't step up. That is really great decision making. I mean, there was one lapse from this team around Soul Dragon, and other than that, they were completely on the same page. They knew exactly what their win conditions were. And honestly, Grapes, I mean, I thought Team Fish Taco played fine. The problem is Native, they played a hell of a lot better.
They played amazingly in this game, seemingly growing from every single series that they have gone, despite already being one of the top contenders in this qualifier. and they look like they are in a good position to potentially match up against Maryville in the semifinals. TFT are going to have to come up with a solution. Will they be able to find it? We'll see after this break. Welcome back, everybody, to coverage of the NACLQ quarterfinals. And I still need a moment. I'm still recollecting what
Yeah,
just happened,
let's.
Yarhawk. That was intense. A 27-minute game, and it seemed like it went for an hour.
Grapes, sorry. In through the nose, out through the mouth.
If you're in chat
Everyone
with, if you're in chat
got
with us,
that
do
deep
it as
breath.
well. You need just.
Yeah.
I feel like we're gonna see some more of this, so you just need to calm down a little bit.
I mean, that was 27 minutes, and it felt like a game that went 40 just because of how close it was. I mean, it came down to one critical error for Team Fish Taco around the Baron, and Native punished like that. And that, I think that's a game that proves the caliber of these teams for me, because a worse team would have folded to Native's aggression so fast. TFT did such a great job of countering a lot of what Native did, and yet it still wasn't enough because Native just outplayed them in the fights, Grapes.
Yeah, and you say the thing about stifling aggression, and I think that's something that Alorum has kind of exemplified throughout his entire career. Just being able to hold these top laners and hold basically entire teams down a little bit and make sure the rest of his team is ready to go in. And we saw that really amazingly on that
Yeah,
Gragas in game number 1.
great
Team didn't
game.
win the game, but he had some amazing engages, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of him versus Shocky because that was a really interesting matchup that we didn't even get the chance to talk about too much.
Yeah, I mean, Alorum really had a great game. I thought the Gragas was amazing. The solo kill as well, let's not forget, as well as I think being the most impactful member in a lot of those fights. But Grapes, they did ultimately lose, and immediately where my mind is drawn is bot lane phase did not go great for the side of Team Fish Taco. Whether or not it's the Alistar pick, whether or not it's Winter's comfort level on the Alistar pick as well, which is something worth noting. Or what? I mean, it didn't really happen the way that they wanted it to.
I think that's just a case of us being on patch 13.1b. You know, the melee supports haven't been buffed just yet. A lot of these,
True.
you know, ranged matchups are still what we're seeing in the meta. And Native saw that Alistar was in the game, and they said, okay, we have this Sivir Lulu, we have Prio permanently in the bot side of the map, and they are going to take advantage of that. And Fnatic found really good angles to find kills, both for himself and then also for some of the big carries like Messages and Scooped, who were able to really take over that game once we got a little bit later on.
Definitely. I mean, in Messages and Scooped, they had incredible games. Messages starting the game off 2-0. Scooped as well on the Sivir, again, dominating the lane phase. I mean, and Shocky too. The carries for Native Gaming just did everything that they needed to do. So much damage from that composition. So much mobility. Grapes, I mean, I remember the Soul Point fight where they had the 3-point attack. Messages from one side, Shocky from another, the rest of the team up the gut. And it was just uncounterable, it felt like, for Team Fish Taco. They were corralled, they were killed off, and that was pretty much where the game ended, it felt like. And I mean, like, how do you deal with that now, looking towards this game? I'm looking at stronger laning for Red and Winter. I do think that is going to be the big thing. But if Native is again going to ban out the Lucian, like, that's sort of the one pick that I think Red has looked the best on so far this tournament, Grapes.
That's a decision that I think comes down to the draft as well. It's like I think TFT knew coming in that their bot lane was going to get punished. I just don't think they realized how hard Native would have been able to break open Winter on this level 5, level 6 Alistar before he really ended up getting super strong. And because of that, it just really meant that it was difficult for TFT to really, you know, get to their strategy of having Red sit alone on the island and Winter making
Yeah.
plays across the map. It was just not possible for that to happen before that big amount of just gold went into the favor of Native. And I think maybe it's just about Winter playing something that will be able to function a little bit more in the early game. You know, the Alistar is okay with these hard engages, but not really in terms of staying alive against a bot lane as potent as Scooped in right now.
Right. And Grapes, another thing about the draft, I do want to just tell everyone we have confirmation that Team Fish Taco has selected blue side for
So
this
they're
game.
swapping
So they're
around.
out of red side. It's going to be a swap. And I think one of the criticisms that I would have had for the draft last game was not saving counter pick for comp 9. Look, again, the Gragas looked great for Lorem, but I think saving Gragas for R5, like, that always feels bad, right? And comp struggled, I think. And I think Messages did more with his lead than Lorem was able to do. So now, being on the blue side, Team Fish Taco, they're going to eschew that need for an X Factor R5 counter pick and instead be able to get more of these power picks in the way, in fashion that they want. So I think this makes a lot of sense. We'll see how that sort of adjustment might change things up.
I still think it's going to be heavy jungle priority. We didn't see the pool targeted too much other than like the Elise or something like that
Yeah,
in the
Elise
first
was the
ban
only ban.
phase. And so it was just the Maokai for Sejuani trade. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that again. I feel like Dardoch and Fnatic were both pretty comfortable throughout that early game. Maybe Dardoch wants something with a little bit more aggression, but it worked out okay, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I think where we're looking at most is some adaptation from Red and Winter, getting themselves a lane and a position where they can feel just a little bit better as we head into the draft.
Yeah, I mean, Grapes, it was a pretty quiet game for Dardoch, I think it's fair to say. Not a bad one, just a quiet one. Not really able to impact the map maybe as much as he would have liked. And again, back into the draft, we'll see how the bans do differentiate themselves. Team Fish Taco going to throw a lot of attention towards these native gaming solo laners as well. I think especially being on the blue side, the ability to get the strongest AD carry on the current patch, whatever you may deem that to be, generally means that you don't need to focus bot in the ban phase quite as much.
Now we head into the draft. Of course, the sides have swapped, which means there are going to be some differences in how these two teams approach things. Azir for messages has been something that has been really, really good for him, and so
It's
seeing that
been
even
pretty
seeing that even
crazy.
on the blue side in the first phase definitely makes a little bit of sense. And we see on the other side, Caitlyn seems to be something that neither of these bot lanes are willing to give up, as it's going to be heavy
Lucian's
jungle
up.
focus towards Dardoch, with Team Fish Taco looking for B1.
Yeah, looking at B1 Nami, Lucian Nami is available. Varus is the hover. I don't know. I want to see Red a little bit more unleashed. I feel like that's the way you're going to beat Native Gaming as Team Fish Taco. I mean, look, don't get me wrong. Varus is really good. It's a strong champion, but I think that X Factor potential is sort of what this team was lacking last game, and now the Maokai being given up as well. Sejuani was banned this time around. So as far as answers, we're going to go down the tier list towards something like the Vi or the Wukong Grapes and the Lulu getting snapped up. Additionally, I like Native start to this draft. I think that it's pretty obvious 80 carry on 3, messages on 4, Shaki on 5.
I don't think this is a good chance for another Alistar or something for Winter. We
No.
probably need
Please no.
to
Please
go
no.
something else here this
No,
time
no, no,
around.
no, no.
It's going to be Sivir or Zeri. Now Scoop kind of gets to choose whichever bot lane he wants, which I feel like is not necessarily a good thing if you are Team Fish Taco. But we'll see how this Varus is able to function in the laning phase as we wrap up this first phase of the draft. Lux is the answer. This is basically the only range support that Winter has been willing to whip out, and it will provide a lot of additional poke to match alongside the piercing arrows of the Varus.
This is interesting. It's the poor man's Caitlyn lane coming out here in the bottom side. It's just instead of the Caitlyn, it's the Varus. This is like the Caitlyn at home lane. That's what I'm going to call it.
Right.
I am very intrigued by this one. I mean, Lethality Varus with Lux will give a lot of one-shot potential, but you wanted more playmaking for Dardoch Grapes? Well, Udyr has been slammed. This also technically could be mid lane if we wanted to get really crazy.
We're getting crazy here, yeah. I don't know.
Probably just
We're
going
not,
for Dardoch.
We're not watching Dignitas Challenger, so I don't know if that's going to be the option here. But Comp9
There's no insanity in this
has
game.
been able to whip out different things. I mean, we're talking about his Vladimir being something that's interesting, also the Vel'Koz and stuff like that. But I'm not entirely sure if this is what we're going to see, but always the flexibility is interesting. The Lux could technically also flex to different lanes as we head into the second phase of bans. Alorum going to be the target once again. He has these like niche weird things that he can whip out, like the Urgot and the AD Nico.
Yeah.
So taking those off the board basically confirms that he's going to be locking in something a little bit safer, which might give a better angle for Shocky to pick something that would maybe benefit him a little bit more.
Olaf, another one of those. I am expecting, again, I think it's counterpick for Shocky. I feel like there's no reason you can't just get messages in a nice mage matchup and look to go even, especially with Azir being banned out. Something like Victor, very, very safe right now. The only hesitation there is if you don't want to give up a good matchup for, say, like the Akali for Comp 9. But either way, I mean, Native Gaming, they've got a very stock standard composition. It's clearly Team Fish Taco. They feel like they're the ones that have to adapt. And in fact, with the Akali getting banned out, I don't see any reason not to go Victor unless you're afraid of giving up Silas, which, by the way, has gotten unpicked or banned throughout this whole thing. It was banned last time around, Grapes, and there are some pretty good ultimates, particularly on the side of Native Gaming.
Yeah, we'll see if the side of Comp9 wants to pick that up, has whipped that out in the past, as maybe we're seeing a messages lock in here to save that counter pick for sure over to Shocky. The Victor, as you were saying, makes a lot of sense. And we'll see what TFT decide to answer with on the other side. The Vladimir for Comp9 is still up. And I think it actually works relatively well against this native composition. I wouldn't be surprised to see some extra spice being thrown out here. But we'll see what they end up wrapping things up with. Their soul laners have to be selected right here.
Grapes, I gotta be honest with you, Vladimir into Victor, horrible matchup, don't do it. So I don't think it's gonna be Silas because you just give Victor free lane. He shoves you in and it's unplayable. Scion Blind, a champion we've been seeing crop up a lot. It's pretty strongly in Team Fish Taco's wheelhouse, Alorum's wheelhouse. However, again, Grapes, I know I'm saying it a lot. I feel like it's a blunder if you're not picking Silas here up against Victor in a great matchup. You've also got Maokai Ultimate available to steal. It's able to give you another Bash Brother to go in with the Scion and the Udyr. Please pick Silas. I don't like Orianna against Sivir at all. Pick Silas.
Oh, Seraphine getting locked in. Now, this is the question. Maybe it's a Lux mid to to match
Could
the
be a Lux
range of
mid.
Victor. I think that might be the answer here. Cop9 has been known for whipping out things that are, again, a little bit unconventional. The Seraphine, I believe, has been played by him in the past. I'm not 100% sure. We're going to have to kind of check that a little bit.
Ooh.
But with this tank lock in here for Alorum, it's going to allow this Fiora to come in for Shocky.
Oh.
This is finally his opportunity to show what he is capable of on some of these carries. It is a matchup that can go Sion's way if things go completely right for him. But Fiora is definitely strongly favored, and I'm excited to see how Shocky pulls this off.
Yeah, Grapes, I mean, you're the Scion player, so I'll take your word for it. I feel
Yeah,
like this is the counter
the,
to
the
end
way
all
that's
counters.
the way that
This
this
matchup is
works,
unplayable.
you have to go full AD. So I guess she's not going to do that. But basically, the parry for the Decimating Smash is
Totally
going to
go
be big.
lethality. That'd be so Giga Chad.
The interesting thing here is kind of a mind game here with the Decimating Smash and the Riposte, because you can either tap the Q to make it stun immediately as soon as it's ready, or you can wind it up all the way. And if Shocky thinks that you are
Right.
trying to do it immediately and parries early, the timer actually works out, so you will get the full proc on the slam down if Shocky is not good with how the parries work. So it's a bit of a mind game, and it's kind of just a 50-50 guessing game between these two top laners. We know Alorum has a lot of the brains in here, so we'll see if it ends up working for him in this top side. But if he builds tank, it's going to be easy for Shocky to kind of run him down, especially after a couple of items are picked up.
He should just go lethality. Just send it. Come on, you got a Seraphine.
He went full
you
AP
don't- you don't need
Gragas,
the-
so
Yeah, he did pull AP Gragas. So it could totally happen. I mean, look, you heard it here first from professional Scion player Grapes, Andrew Grapes Howe. Absolutely insane analysis. I will say the mind game on the Q with the riposte, like my mind just goes to like, why not just dash out of the Q with the Fiora lunge and then you can riposte the ultimate? That's my one.
If you're point blank, you can't. The riposte is kind of just a prediction, kind of like Renekton stun or something like that. So there are angles where Sion can at least set up his team for success against Shocky, but I do look at the Team Fish Taco composition and I don't see a whole lot of DPS. I'm a little bit worried about how that's going to work out against a really heavily scaling composition in native.
Yeah, Grapes, I've really just been talking so much about the Scion Fiora matchup because I want to avoid talking about how much I dislike Team Fish Taco's composition, to be honest with you. I mean, here's what I'll say in defense of it is I asked for something that was going to have more agency in the lane phase for Red and Winter. Well, Varus Lux up against the short range of Lulu Sivir should be very dominating and very punishing. So that is a huge positive for them. However, I think it's going to be really hard to ever kill them. You're only just going to have a lot of pressure. And as you said, the lack of DPS when you're staring down a Lulu Maokai comp with Victor Sivir to back it up is just terrifying. Also, later on in the game, who the hell is matching Shocky in a side lane? I just don't think it's possible. And it really feels like we just need Dardoch to 1v9 the game on this Udyr and get the whole team really far ahead.
Yeah, I'm looking at Dardoch specifically, and also Red and Winter. They need to have a much better lane than they did in game number 1. If not coming out ahead, at least going relatively even and maybe having Dardoch come down there and help them out. Because you have the advantageous situation, at least for the first couple of levels. You have the heavy poke coming out from Red and Winter. If they're able to land any sort of crowd control onto Scooped and Rhino, it will chunk out their health bar a considerable margin. But if you get a little bit later on into the game, Sivir and Victor start to pick up these items. It's going to be really hard to try and match this, even with a lot of the durability that TFT have set up for themselves.
And we've been seeing some teams play the Udyr Enchanter. We actually saw it. It was in the game that CB won, I believe, against Native Gaming. It was Kisno picking up the Udyr with the Karma mid for Nem9. So this has actually been something we've been seeing in NACLQ. It's not in a vacuum bad. It just is that concern of damage later on into the game. I'm really looking at these mid-game team fights before 3 items to be the moment for Team Fish Taco. But Native, what are you looking at in the early game? The most important thing, I think, is Fnatic. Last game, you did a great job of keeping Dardoch down, keeping Dardoch in vision. That needs to be the name of the game again. This Udyr is going to try to power clear and influence these lanes. All you got to do, make sure your lane stays safe and everybody's able to farm up, and so we can fight together as 5.
And on the other side, is Fnatic on a jungler that's able to perform well in the early game with a lot of scaling, lane counterparts. So it might not be the easiest setup for Fan to get kills in onto everybody, but if they do end up working it and there are opportunities for Native to break open a lane, break open any kills, that is just going to be a really, really hard situation for TFT to avoid. So that is what I have my eyes on, is the junglers and the bot lanes once again. there's a lot of stuff to look at because a lot of really great players and a lot of amazing storylines to follow for this game. But Team Fish Taco is down bad. They lost that first game in 27 minutes. It was close at times, but it seemed like Native were in control. They're going to need an answer here. Is this composition the one that can do it? About to jump onto the Rift. Game number 2 is underway between Native and TFT.
In Grapes, again, Team Fish Taco coming into this tournament as the preceded #1. They dropped a game that they didn't really expect to in the open qualifier to CB, I believe it was, the team that also was able to knock one off of Native Gaming. And so, I mean, they have not quite been as dominant as people thought they would be, but we have seen flashes of that brilliance from this team.
And I know that everybody on Native... Sorry.
Go ahead.
Some lag, I think, right there. I thought you were done. The whole point was there's a lot of members on Native that weren't too happy about that OQ ranking, that TFT were the first seeded team.
Hey, Grapes, we seeded them first, so, you know, like, we got the brownie points right there, right?
I'm not gonna flex, but they look pretty good right now. And a lot of the content pieces that have come out, these players were most excited to play against Team Fish Taco because they wanted to prove everybody wrong and that they are the most dominant team in the NACLQ. And this team was not built to win this tournament. They were built to qualify into the NACL, to make that promotion tournament and beat one of the provisional teams. And it's going to start right here with a win against that #1 seed.
And both of these teams were going out in quarterfinals would be a disappointment for either one of them, no matter which way is square. And now, you know, TFT, they at least want to push a game 3, going out 0-2 to your big rival in Native Gaming. Would not be the way that you want to start your season again. If they're able to put a statement win out for Native, that just means so much for them going forward.
You can see both the junglers starting once again to the top side of the map. As the bot lane is again where we want to focus our attention. You can already see Red and Winter poking Scooped and Rhino out of lane. There is no heal on Scooped, it is only on Rhino, and he already has to burn one of his 3 health pots.
And so we're already seeing that power that the various Lux are going to have. The Caitlyn at home lane is going to be able to bully the Sivir off the wave very, very effectively and try to deny CS. Again, I think kill threat is low, but this is a massive difference from how the lane phase went last time around for Red and Winter. So already we're upgrading here in game number 2, Grapes.
They need to be able to both, you know, pressure Scooped and Rhino as much as they can, but also be wary of a potential gank from Fnatic, because one flash twisted advance can mean the end of that advantageous laning state. So already have a ward in the bottom side. They are expecting Fnatic to be pathing down as early as possible, and he will be spotted out if he tries to go for a potential engage.
And now one of the powers that the Udyr does have for this Team Fish Taco composition is any early 3v3s, 4v4s, Udyr will be the strongest champion by a pretty significant margin, I should add, in those sorts of fights.
Yeah,
but there's that gank that you're talking about,
but here comes Fnatic as well. Dardoch is still on the Krugs, has no opportunity to get back in. Fnatic, who is he going to look for? Look at the twist advance, will be on to Winter. There comes the Bramble Smash. Can Winter buy enough time? The poke was going to come out. Red is going to pick up first blood alongside Winter, and here comes Dardoch as well. The Ghost has been procced, the Empowered ult comes through, and Rhino is going to drop as well. Red will pick up another one with Dardoch, and Scoops has to run for the hills.
And there's the Udyr, baby, running into the lane, able to pick one up. Team Fish Taco, they've got 1,000 gold advantage early, Grapes.
And that looked very scary for TFT for a long time. I thought maybe Fnatic would just be able to burst down Winter as soon as possible, but the patience out of Dardoch to make sure he was able to hit level 4 and then run it down with the Ghost after Native have extended a little bit too far in order to get some kills back over to them. You know you would have loved to see them onto Red, but getting these gold advantages regardless and forcing out a couple of these players is going to be big for TFT, and you can already see the gold. They're up about 1.2k 4 minutes in.
I mean, you know what? Gold onto a Lux support, actually never really a bad thing. And likewise, for Dardoch, we've been talking about how important this Udyr is going to be moving towards the mid-game. So being able to get ahead and continue to dominate in any sort of early skirmishes is going to be huge. Also, Grapes, we're looking at mid lane right now. Calm9 kind of destroying messages in the mid-matchup, already up 10 CS. This is just such a different story than game 1.
Looking good, but remember, the scaling goes the way of native. This is what we were kind of expecting a little bit. If the Victor and the Sivir can get online, that is where we have to look for
Yes.
something big. And right now, finding that big kill, having Dardoch get an opportunity for a gank is huge for Team Fish Taco, but you were expecting these lanes to win out regardless. Maybe not top side, but the rest definitely have to get ahead early for them to have a chance to win a little bit later on.
Yeah. I mean, the bottom line is right. Team Fish Taco, they far from won this game, but this is what they need to do to win this game. And I mean, this early start is exactly the game plan. Now, Dragon is on the map. Herald going to be up in 2.5. I want to see Team Fish Taco dominating on these neutral objectives. Use this Lux, use this Udyr to take fights, force native gaming to make concessions to you, and not let them free scale.
What's the next move? We don't really know just yet. We see already the serrated Dirk picked up for red, and he's going to continue to try to press its advantage as much as he possibly can alongside Winter. The poke is big, but you can already see maybe some nice stuff. Ooh, a nice parry coming out from Shocky. Might actually be the opportunity for a little bit more if you wanted to proc that grand challenge. There's another Vital. Alorm has to run away now. They both have the ults, and so I think that Alorm is going to be fine as Shocky doesn't want to push too far forward.
Really nice parry right there. Shocky clearly showing the mechanics. Grapes, the mind game not working out in Alorm's favor so far, but Team Fish Taco, they've actually started the Dragon off screen. Perma priority bot lane, and Fnatic is in base. So, I mean, this is what we saw out of Native last game. They just had early control over the river, and they were able to do Dragons uncontested. This time around, it's Team Fish Taco. Again, leveraging their advantages, and the 2v2 in mid and in bot continuing to go their way. And Shocky, I mean, yes, has a health advantage, but minion-wise, it's honestly not too terrible for Alorm, meaning that like everything's fine. You know, we are big chillin'.
I think a way to describe this matchup is unless something goes horribly wrong early game for Shocky, like Sion's gonna be fine and maybe has the opportunity to go for like an all-in under turret or something. Or if Shocky like messes up, then Alorm can punish. But it's still going to be the Fiora getting a relatively free lane. Not going to be like farming kills onto Alorm or anything because we know he's a very good tank player. Will be able to, you know, make his way out of these situations. But I don't think that that's where we have to look at right now. Again, the attention comes back to this bot lane where we continue to see Red and Winter having a much better showing in lane.
Look, and I know I was memeing on the lane, calling it Caitlyn at home, right? But I mean, Lux support, even though yes, it is best paired with the Caitlyn, it could also set up for a potential bot dive. It is very powerful early on. Scooped in Rhino, great awareness to get out of there before the dive comes through. But I mean, Grapes, this is just another wave drop. 2 plates have gone down. Like, it's not without cost here for Native.
Yep, and with that, it will, you know, allow for advantage on the other side of the map. We see Fnatic roaming around, maybe thinking about this Rift Herald, and instead, maybe paying a little bit of attention towards the top lane. Alorm still at around half HP, not going to be too hard to trade out, and I think that they lost their angle here, unless Alorm up at the top side finds an angle onto Shocky. I mean, that's what we're talking about. It's these little mind games with the Qs, and maybe able to find advantages here.
And this is exactly what I wanted. Team Fish Taco, they go from Dragon. They're going to take now the Herald. Second Dragon spawning in 3.5 minutes. Don't give Native an inch. Take everything. Take a mile. Because that is the thing about picking scaling, right? Is you don't get to play your own game sometimes, and Team Fish Taco with way better lane matchups is doing so. Winter does need to be careful. Fnatic pulls the trigger with Nature's Grasp.
It's not enough damage, but it will chunk out Winter a little bit. You're running the wrong way as well, and now it actually gives Scooped and Rhino an opportunity to punch back a little bit. They had Winter roaming on the other side of the map. They shoved this wave in. Red missed the cannon, which is always a little bit of a feels bad moment. But we'll be fine for the most part. The Dragon not spawning for a while, which means that the bot lane might not be where everyone is focusing their attention right now. And I feel like both teams are relatively happy to kind of just leave things the way that they are. You know, there's not a whole lot that TFT needs to do to continue having their advantage. And Native, you know, they wanted to scale anyway.
Yeah. Grapes, I don't know about you, but whenever I play League with my friends, we always like viciously flame somebody. Whoever the first person to miss a cannon is, like they really hear about it in Discord. So feels bad, you know, dropping the cannon, but it happens. Just wanted to let these teams know that missing a cannon on screen, like, you know, it's pretty shameful.
There could have been other missed cannons around, but the fact that we saw it.
But we saw it.
Patty panned the camera down and saw that turret finish off the cannon, unfortunately. But it feels bad for Red. but he's still in a pretty good spot right now. Nearing that first completed item is normally either a Ghost Blade or the Eclipse being finished up for this Lethality Barris, just to get as much DPS and survivability as possible.
Yeah. Dardoch is going towards that demonic embrace as well. So, you know, anything Malachi can do, I can do better. This is one of those underrated champions that is a pretty insane abuser of that item. And Dardoch just so strong on this Udyr, farming up very well, faster than Fnatic, is up just a couple camps. And Shocky as well, actually kind of on the wrong end of this 1v1 a little bit right now. That's Sion with those grass procs. Kind of hurts.
There comes a Bramble. I mean, there's not a lot of extra healing. The Divine Sunder is another big swing of things. So after that, Shocky can kind of get another advantage back. But right now, you can see just the tap cues, the little slide with the Decimating Smash is enough to just chunk Shocky out a little bit. They land the Roar of the Slayer. They're not going to follow up with the ulti, though. And Alorum continuing to have a relatively good time in this lane. And this was a question that we had at the beginning of the game, Hawk. Is Shocky going to be able to break Alorum in this counter matchup? The answer so far, not really.
Yeah. My concern, though, for what it's worth, is still, like, who the hell answers this Fiora later in the game? That's the big concern for TFT, but we've already talked about late game concerns, Shocky getting to hope.
Yeah, might not get there if you just end the game really quickly. A nice dodge away with the stun, preventing the riposte from coming through as Dardoch finishes off the kill. But on the bottom side, Native might be in a bit of trouble. This is the bot lane going down almost. The Wild Growth comes in to keep Rhino alive, and Fnatic will dive in under the tower as well. It's a double kill for Scoop, and Native regain control of this game.
Well, Native is able to find their fight. It's a nice dive in top lane from Team Fish Taco. Dardoch, the mid-game carry, picks up another kill. But guess who has 3?
3-0. We didn't even talk about Scoop that much because he just kept getting pressured under his tower. This is a similar situation that we saw with Red, where he was slowly picking up kills, but I feel like this actually is not a terrible spot for Native at this point. The gold lead is still 2,500 in their favor, but having so much gold onto this AD carry, if we could check the gold, I mean, he's not going to have just that mythic. He's going to have almost an entire additional component as well. Either the tier 2 boots if they weren't completed yet, or a pickaxe or something like that.
Grapes, I've seen really bad things happen to teams that allow Scoop to get fed. He's the richest person in the game right now. Now, TFT should be able to take down this dragon before Native is able to come off this reset. So it's not a complete disaster. The timing of the fight wasn't perfect for Native, but you're more than happy to get a double kill for Scoop. Because Grapes, not only, we talked about this earlier, do you get a couple kills, but it also just relieves so much pressure. Now Red and Winter, they have to think twice about pushing up, and it's going to allow Scoop to farm up and push lanes more aggressively than he otherwise would have been able to.
Saw the gold flash up there, very even between these two bot laners, which is not necessarily a good thing for Team Fish Taco. Red building lethality, going to fall off a little bit as we get later on into this matchup. And so Scoop having this mythic already completed is going to be big. But it is the 2 dragons now secured for Team Fish Taco. There's the mind game. He will be able to dash away from that instead, being right on the edge. But Alorum still doing good. Team Fish Taco maybe looking for another play here with Dardoch in the bottom side of the map. Rhino already has to burn the flash, and that is all that Taco wanted on that play.
Well, you don't have pressure without your jungler here. Scoot may have 3 kills, but hey, Red, he's got 3 teammates. They all roam down. Good damage out of this bot turret, now down to its last plate. So Team Fish Taco, they're still leveraging. Also mid with the Herald charge, just absolutely chunked out. So, I mean, Graves, let's look at the gold real quick. Despite the kills or whatever, TFT, they're still up 3,000 in Fnatic. There's no way you kill this guy, right?
He has flash. Top 9 gonna have to burn the ulti. Will the summoner even be used? There it goes. The Twisted Advance follows. Fnatic just gets the kill.
Jungler just ran at the enemy mid laner and won at 14 minutes into the game. Usually when that happens in my solo queue games, the jungler ends up getting flamed for griefing their mid. But hey, I mean, we take those. That's a pretty big kill.
He greeted for a plate, I think. He just maybe stayed a little bit longer than he should have. It still is a 1k gold advantage in the mid lane for Comp 9. We were a little bit hesitant about the Seraphine pickup, but it's going to be a really good bridge into the mid-game stages for TFT. You have this Enchanter matched alongside the Udyr and the Sion. It's going to be really hard for Scoop, for Messages to break this front line until, you know, you get really far into the game.
And one thing that we haven't really talked about, Grapes, as far as late game scaling is, you know, Native, they've got great scaling, but range-wise, nobody is going to be able to outrange the Seraphine as Shocky. Nice parry to get out of that one. But, I mean, Comp9 will be the longest range champion in the game as this one goes forward. Not even Victor will be able to match that. So while Native will have a very difficult composition to punch through, if Comp9 is able to leverage that advantage, it could be very impactful.
Yeah, Comp9 on his wacky picks, you know, took a bit of a break from the competitive sphere. Was on teams like AoE randoms before they ended up making their way into the Proving Ground scene. And just kind of being a pretty interesting player to watch,
Scoop does
especially on
nothing
this
to him.
return. And yeah, this is Scion Gaming here. You just walk in, nobody is able to stop you on the tower, and you just do so much damage in this mid game. Once you have these items completed, Scoop is unable to touch you
he got
just yet.
too greedy.
But now Rhino is here. The ult is
did
already
he?
popped, but here comes Stardock. The stun will land in onto Rhino, but not at the Scoop just yet. Here comes Fnatic in with the Nature's Grasp. It will lock up Alorum. The decimating smash though is big. And here comes Winter, maybe trying to find an angle. Watch the zombie trying to punch away, but the Poly does a good job to make sure it's only one kill for Native.
Yeah, but wait a minute, Team Fish Taco, they're going to take a mid-tier 2. I think that was 2 towers, Grapes. Traded for that as Scooped is 1 HP, but wow, Scion is looking pretty thick right now.
Yeah, and it seems like Shocky didn't want to match up on the top side. Going to instead look to make a play here, splitting things open here with the potential take of the bot lane tier 1. The Divine Thunder has finally been completed. The Cull has been fully stacked. Maybe Shocky can try to find an angle, but you look at the item differential already here for Alorum. That's a full Thornmail at 16 minutes in this game.
Yeah, I think Scoot was healing him with the autos. He most certainly was doing more damage to himself than he was doing to Alorum, which is pretty demoralizing to see if you're the AD carry for Native. And that does show us that, again, Native is far from that spike that will win them the game, Grapes. We're talking about it. 3 items. That's really the breakpoint we're looking at. And even though Native, they're doing fine, they're down that 3,500 gold, and they've only got 1 out of those 3 items.
Next fight, probably that dragon. Cloud Drake will be spawning in about 50 seconds. That is the sole point for TFT. And it's going to be pretty hard to break this front line. Again, if they decide to stack fully around this bot side, it will be hard for Native to try and
They
get
want to
into the
match
pit.
this.
So instead, they're going to try to split the map open. Rift Herald popped in the top side, but Team Fish Taco trying to follow things up. Here comes the ultimate out of Alorum. It will be blocked by the spell shield, but in comes Dardock. He's immune from the crowd control, which means Fnatic cannot touch him. And Scoop gets hit up by the root. Will not die just yet. Finally, Alorum will pick him up, and here comes the rest of the DPS. Red has arrived in the fight alongside that final spark from Winter, and it means 2 kills going the way of TFT.
Really nicely done from Team Fish Taco. Native, they wanted to cross map with the Herald and say, Team TFT, you can have the dragon. And TFT says, wait a minute, we don't have to give up crap. They answer back up top with 2 kills. They're going to be able to get down bot for the dragon as well. Very nice counter cross map right there from Team Fish Taco.
It's not going to be too easy to fight for the objective. Of course, Dardock did die on that play, so he is in base right now, making his way over to the pit. But now, it's going to be pretty hard for Native, once again, to get into this fight. Crucial ultimates are going to be down on both sides. Importantly, a lot of the big engage for Taco is not there. No Unstoppable Onslaught, no Encore, no Chain of Corruption. But they have the priority and they have the lead. I think that the Native might just want to give this one up and wait for that 4th.
I think Native's plan was always to give this one up. I think that's why they went top lane there, Grapes. And again, so much praise to Team Fish Taco for reading that play and denying it. They hard committed to that counter play, and it worked out beautifully. Now, feels a little bit bad for Team Fish Taco that it is a Cloud Soul. For what it's worth, I think their team uses Cloud Soul pretty well. But still, I think you would have preferred something like Ocean would have been really good this game. Hex Tech, always good, but either way, they're 1 step closer, only 1 step away from that one, and they're even just going to brute force down a bot tier 2.
Yep, the tower taking, when you have the Seraphine and then the Scion with the Demolish, it's going to be pretty good, and that is now Cloud Soul point. You mentioned how maybe it was better to get some of the other Drakes, but I will say, you know, Cloud Soul is good at accelerating the pace of play, and if that goes over, and if the ultimates are just going to continue to be up and allow for champions like Dardock to just get a ton of movement speed into the enemy team, that is a good way for TFT to even push their advantage further, not only just with having stats advantages, but also being able to press their buttons a little bit quicker than they usually are.
And Grapes, it's just incredible, the night and day difference for Team Fish Taco on champions with agency as opposed to without, right? Red didn't really have any agency last game, was kind of getting dunked on in the 2v2. Dardock, invisible on the Maokai. Well, let's just throw the book out. Let's go for the Varus Lux lane. Let's go for the Udyr. Let's give ourselves agency. Good lane matchups in TFT. They just look so much better. Shocky is also kind of bouncing off of Laura.
This is the point where it's pretty good for Fiora. I mean, you're not going to kill him, the Scion, in this lane necessarily, unless you go a little bit too far forward. But, you know, Elisha plays on the other side of the map. TFT might have gone a little bit too far. Winter is just instantly bursted down. And Dardoch is being chased down by 4 members of Native. Chain of Corruption gets spell shielded away, and Scoop is going to try to continue the chase. Will it be enough to close out the gap on red? I do not think so, but Baron is up. There's a member down. I don't think Native want to go for it, but they find a big angle off of the overextension.
Native is going to be able to get control of their own topside jungle back, though, and that's really critical. It stifles some of this push that TFT was putting down. Now, they did use 2 flashes to get that kill and only got Winters and return critically. Message is not going to have that summoner spell available for the Dragon Soul fight, which, Grapes, if I've seen anything this game, that means he's going to be fodder for this Udyr potentially, so we'll have to keep our eye on that one. But it is a nice pick. It is a nice punish. Nonetheless, Native clearly down, but most certainly not out.
But look at the jungle matchup right now. Dardoch was on this farming champion, and he has done that incredibly successfully. Already had the Joksha. I was wondering if maybe it was a Radiant Virtue kind of situation with all the sustainability that was available on this TFT team. Instead, just wants to be a little bit more selfish, try to get some more. It just, I think it's similar to Karma, where it will just proc every time that you press the R button. And instead, will be the extra sustainability for himself. And with that, TFT, with their 3,500 gold lead, are going to start off this Baron.
They don't want to let Native breathe. They've got great positioning. This is getting absolutely burned, Grapes. Native is here.
TP coming in. Shocky wants to make this a 5 versus 5. The Nature's Grasp only locking out Dardoch, but now Alarm on the backside is big. There comes the Charm and lands in onto Fnatic, and the jungler for Native is down. Here comes the knock up here. Onto Messages, the main carry in this fight. Scoop has been left untouched. The health bars still remain in favor of Native, but they have the kill and they have the poke. Can they get more? Scoop gets deleted by the laser, and now Alorum is in on the front side, still soaking up so much damage. The scaling is not here for Native yet, and TFT found a massive angle, and they're going to start this objective up again.
And they're immortal. Cop 9 is keeping everybody full HP. Native, I think they actually won the initial engagement by getting the health bar so low, but the overextension scooped. A rare mistake. Gets picked. Team Fish Taco, they're gonna find the Baron, and they're gonna break open game number 2.
Don't want to speak too soon. I'm gonna knock on wood right now, but this is looking like it's going to be one of the best series that we have had so far in the NACLQ. These 2 titans of this qualifier scene, seeded 1 and 2 overall by the committee. The expectations for both these teams through the roof. And we're going to see them duke out a little bit more earlier than expected, but it is delivering regardless. One of these teams is going to get knocked out in quarters, and it might not be a TFT after the play that we're seeing right now.
No, it really might not be. Team Fish Taco, they have flipped the script. They've done something different. Native, for the 2nd time this tournament, not having an answer for the Enchanter Udyr comp. It is such a great game. Dardoch, Dardoch, Dardoch. You can't say his name enough because night and day difference between this one and game number 1. And now the response from Native. Can you find a pick?
Winter's caught potentially, gets away with the blast cone, sorry. Takes a big chunk of damage. Might delay some of the pushing power that TFT have with this Baron buff. They're going to look to crack open top tier 2, but you have to watch out for what Native are trying to do on the other side. They have stacked 3 in mid, looking to crack open another opportunity. Maybe he's getting priority, but Native have to be careful. The inhibitor tower is now under fire. Also, this dragon, which is, again, the Cloud Soul for TFT is up in 20 seconds. It doesn't seem like they want to fight for it yet, and instead, going to look to continue to crack open the base. No resets have come in for Fnatic just yet, as TFT pick up the tier 3 and try to run away.
Winter's low, Fnatic on the flank, but no Nature's Grasp available, makes it engage
they're
very
still going.
difficult. Yeah, Team Fish Taco, they know they're strong. Grapes, their cross-mapping this series has been sublime. In game number 1, it kept them relevant. In game number 2, it might just win them. Now they're going to drop back to Dragon. TFT playing on their limits. They know exactly what they need to do to win. Just pulling Native Gaming around the map, seesawing the map, if you will. And Native, they are getting slingshot back and forth like an old rubber band.
It's still Soul for TFT, which means that Native have to fight this Cloud Dragon. They have priority
on the side,
moment, but here comes the rest of TFT. They already have popped the Ghost onto Dardoch, and they're looking to go in, but Fnatic might have found a big flank. They try to lock down a member here, but it's still just the 1-for-1. The front line for TFT is not going down, and Red is hitting onto the back line for absolutely no price whatsoever. It is 3 kills going the way of Native. They're going to get the Cloud Soul. And Scoop, you're running the wrong way, buddy. You got to head back to base.
Yeah, Scoop can get spotted on a ward potentially as well. He might actually end up going down. This is a really bad situation, Team Fish Taco. They've got the Baron, they've got the Dragon Soul.
Dodge it. Oh.
Now, Baron will wear off very soon. As Scoop, unfortunately.
We're getting a little bit of lag on getting a little bit of lag on the Hawk side. Your previous sentence finished after you said the one after that, which is weird. I think you're back right now. The game is open. I need you to stick here with me because this is going to be a really important portion of this game.
I won't hang you out to dry like summer.
Yeah, tier 3 in the bot lane taken down. TFT have a 9,000 gold lead. It has ballooned to almost an unbreakable margin, but the scaling is still there for Native. Can they find an opportunity? The Nature Scratch comes out. It will lock up 2 members. Watch out for Red. He's in a bit of trouble right now with the flank coming in from Shocky, but Taco is running Shocky the other way, telling him to get out of my yard and head back to your base once again.
Shocky, let's see how much time he can buy. He's actually going to be out, so Team Fish Taco not able to complete the push. A good stand by Native Gaming, but again, they're still so far away. But Grapes, we have alluded to this ticking time bomb of this Native composition time and time again. And look, they're very far behind, and it doesn't feel like that's going to end up happening. However, they are almost to 3 items on their carries, 2.5 on each messages and Scoop. So maybe there's a world where they can stall out just one more fight and let those spikes come through and just potentially tip the balance of power in their favor once and for all.
They're gonna need more time. I don't know if they have it. You know, you look at the tanks. Who can break Alarm? He has 3 completed items right now. Also some additional magic resist with that null magic mantle coming in, and Dardoch nearly completing that gargoyle stone plate as well. I mean, it's gonna look really hard. I don't know if the scaling's there. We're gonna have to get a little bit further in, and that's gonna be a miracle within itself if Native can hold on for that long.
The big one, Grapes, is going to be Baron in a minute. They're not going to have their spikes for that fight. I mean, genuinely, is there a world where you give TFT the Baron and try to wave clear with Sivir Victor to get to 3 items? I know, like, it sounds crazy giving Baron for free, but it just feels like they have to get Lord Dominic's on a Scoop. They have to get a 3rd item for messages, but Shocky's just going to die before that. They might not have a choice.
Yeah, I don't think there's much hope here for Shocky. Has the grand challenge onto Dardoch, but it's going to get knocked up. CC chain to Oblivion. And healing is there, but the levels are not. The gold isn't as well. It's a kill going the way of TFT once again. The Baron is spawning in 30 seconds, and Shocky won't be there for it.
I mean, now I don't think you have a choice, Grapes. I think you are giving up this Baron if you're Native Gaming. It's not worth losing the game for this objective. Just keep waiting. Scoop, though. Grapes, he has hit critical mass. Lord Dominic's regards in inventory. Keep your eyes on the 80 carry of Native Gaming, because they need a hero, and he could just be him.
The PD.
Baron is now on the map messages.
Oh, Red.
Flash.
Okay, wait, that's a pretty big chunk onto Red,
Messages
but now Messages has to be a little bit
gone.
careful. Oh my god, that bear runs way too fast. The final spark comes out, and that's the final spark into the life of Messages for the time being. The next 48 seconds are without a Victor, and the next 2 are without a Fiora. The Baron has been started up. I don't think Native are going to try to respond for this. TFT look poised to try and break open the base in the next push.
Messages, I feel for him, making a play that I think he felt like he had to make, getting some kind of advantage for his team, but no flash. You just can't walk up like that. The Udyr, as you say, Grapes, runs so damn fast, and it's actually a boar these days, not a bear. You know, they reworked him, so I'm sorry.
Same difference. Come on.
Yeah. But either way, I'm sorry. Dardoch, the big boar, the big bear, big boar of this game. Either way, doing
one letter.
big work.
1 letter is a difference right there.
That's true. That is true.
Okay, let's see what Native can do. Of course, they have 3 items. There's no Infinity Edge or Navori, though, on the side of Scoop. That might be a bit of a problem, and he's just going to get caught out on the other side. Meanwhile, the base is being broken up by Native. Scoop is going to go down to the big tanky boys on the side of Team Fish Taco. And with that root landing in onto Fnatic, I don't think it's going to be likely that Native can turn this game around. Shockey's still trying to go for a split push, but he might have to TP back to see his world crumble before him. Team Fish Taco trying to finish off this game, trying to send us to a game number 3.
Minions
and
are
I
gone.
think that they're about to do it here. Shockey and Messages have to pull off a miracle with another wave crashing, and it doesn't even matter if there's no creeps because they are just too tanky on the TFT side. That is easily the game going their way, and we are headed to a game number 3.
Wow. Team Fish Taco striking back in game number 2, Grapes. Dardoch on the Udyr, man. That is now both the losses that Native has sustained in this tournament is to an Udyr with an Enchanter mid. Either TFT did their homework or Native, they got to figure it out because that pick is looking crazy.
I'm going to say the word. I'm going to say the B word.
You can say the B word?
It's a banger here
bear,
on
or
Salty
banger?
Run back here. Game 3 about to get underway between 2 of the best teams that we have in semi-pro. Native and TFT, they're both trying to get to the promotion tournament. They might get out right here, right now. We're going to take a short break. The final game after this. Welcome back, everybody. Game number 3 is about to get underway, and I am just so excited. The one last matchup between these two teams, Native and TFT. You know, a lot of us were hoping that this was going to be a best of 5 in the finals, so we could see these two teams duke it out for even longer. But regardless, it's going to be a very important high-stakes game. 20 qualification points on the line. We're heading into draft for Game 3 rather quickly, as Native have retaken Blue Hawk, and I think that's where both of these teams find themselves the most comfortable.
And they immediately remove the Udyr because the biggest difference between game 1 and game 2 was agency for Team Fish Taco. What I'm looking at in the draft is a pick that Dardoch can have big impact on, and bot lane 2v2. Whichever team is able to find a meaningful advantage in that has shown that they're able to dominate the map so effectively. Dragons in particular have been a really big objective so far in this series. So far, we're not seeing any focus, by the way, towards the bottom side with bans. We got the Varus first pick from Team Fish Taco last game. The Caitlyn and home lane came out. And in fact, Native Gaming, they're leaving the Caitlyn up for the first time this series.
Yeah, I think that's true. Nobody is going to be banning that away unless they do it onto Scooped. He did play 2 Caitlyn games in their last series against Team Ambition and looked pretty good on them. So I wouldn't be surprised if they try to go back for that on this B1 with the Maokai being taken away for Fnatic. So TFT maybe opening up an opportunity for bot lane trades to occur. We saw that Red and Winter were able to get a little bit creative, but it is still that Varus that is remaining the highest priority in this game.
Native also thinking that the Varus is the highest prio when that champion that just got locked in, Sejuani, was on the board. I'm really surprised to see Native not snap that one up immediately, clearly identifying Red's Varus as the issue, and it is forcing Red insta-locked onto the Jhin, which, I mean, look, he had a 15 bomb yesterday on this champion in game 3 up against Zenigma, so maybe just wanting to run it back for confidence. But I've got my own negative opinions of the champion Jhin, so we'll see how that one works out. But you can't argue with the stat line that he posted yesterday, Graves.
And on the other side, it seems like both of these teams are kind of just getting all of their comfort picks back into their inventories. The Dardoch Sejuani is going to be huge for them. And on the other side, it is a Fnatic, Messages Azir getting locked in. Messages has had the Azir either picked or banned against him in every game. And does that mean, is this opening because TFT have an answer with the Vel'Koz? Maybe this is the final answer here for Team Fish Taco, the final gauntlet, final card being thrown down.
Grapes, this is such an interesting draft already because, like you said, it's been banned against Messages in both games. In game number 1, it was banned in the second round. Last time, it was banned in the first round, so that Messages couldn't pick it on 3. But now, with the opportunity of R3 counter pick, Team Fish Taco Comp 9 slams down the counter that you have spoken about the whole time. And Grapes, I want to add another little wrinkle to this draft. Alorum is a pretty big Sejuani enjoyer. Yeah. This might not be a Dardoch Sejuani.
That is true. Another tank up in the top side, and you can never know for sure, which means that you probably still have to ban out things like the Nico and Urgot. If you are native here on this phase, you want to make sure that that is a Sejuani in the top side if you want to try to get a counter pick in for Shocky, but instead it will be targets towards that bottom lane, a Leona takeaway. If you wanted to try and get a little bit extra targets towards that support pool, Braum, another option here against Winter. But there's a lot of options. I feel like TFT are in a pretty good spot after this first phase.
Yeah, Grapes, I love the Team Fish Taco composition so far. I think Braum would be a great ban for Native Gaming. I think you need to get rid of that one. It's got a great bot lane 2v2 matchup. It is a little awkward with the Jhin, I suppose, which is maybe why they're ignoring it. But Native Gaming, they need dive in round 2 because Team Fish Taco has already locked in so much range. Sejuani ult flying through, Vel'Koz to follow up, Jhin to follow up with the curtain call and the deadly flourish. And I feel like if you're not able to dive onto this mobile backline, it's not winnable for you as native. And if you give up something like Braum, you know what? Screw it. It may be awkward with the Jhin, but it's so good at protecting this comp.
They opted to ban the Kindred to prevent even more range for going in onto Dardoch, and instead going to try and fix and allow TFT to get this Braum onto Winter. He have played it in the past. I believe it was with Zeri last time around for Red, but still, regardless, very good into this Varus. Of course, going to block a lot of that CC and denies so much of the engage that Nautilus wants to bring out. What will the response be onto native side? They still have a top laner and a jungler to lock in. The Aatrox is one of Shockey's most played champions
Whoa!
in solo queue going into this split. This is what he was known for in the past. He's going to get his matchup here. And on the other side for Fnatic, it is an Amumu locked in for him.
I wanted dive grapes. The Amumu has been slammed down. Grapes, I actually casted in CBLOL this morning an Amumu jungle game earlier. The amount of engage that it can pull out is huge, but it's Alorum Olaf into the matchup up against the Aatrox.
I think it's Dardoch. Alorum doesn't play this champion.
No.
It's Crimson. When Crimson was on TFT, they would play this Olaf in the top side to match up against different counter matchups. But I think it is going to be Alorum on this pick. That is, I mean, you've seen the match history. TFT has played Olaf top, but that was what Crimson was in for Alorum in their matchup against Enigma. So it will be the Alorum tank Sejuani in the top lane with Dardoch trying to outfarm and outman Fnatic here on this Amumu.
All right, yeah, that's fair. You're probably right. This is Dardoch, Olaf, but it's still a great pick right here. So much CC that you can run through, and honestly, not a ton of upfront damage for Native Gaming. They've got great DPS, but burst isn't really there. The one fear that I do have for this pick is the amount of support for it is minimal. It synergizes well with the Braum, but it's not like you've got something like a Karma, like a Lulu, to be able to facilitate this one. But I mean, Grapes, like you said, it's full comfort across the board. Native, they got the dive that I wanted. They have the backline access that they need to take down Comp 9 and EU Red. But Team Fish Taco, they have Dardoch on a carry in game number 3.
I mean, that's what he's been known for his entire career. Picking things that can just take over games, and this Olaf is certainly one of them. Especially when you look at kind of the other members on this native team. Nothing really super scary for this Olaf to deal with, and other than maybe like Scooped Varus coming out a little bit. It feels like he's going to be able to have a good time running down everybody on this team. And I'm a little bit scared for Native if that ends up being the case. But they have good lanes. They have messages on a signature pick, and they have Shockey on his as well. I think both teams kind of got what they wanted at the end of the day. I'm pretty sure that they're both content with how this draft actually ended up turning out.
So I agree. I definitely agree. And looking at these two compositions, the differences that stand out to me immensely are, first of all, Team Fish Taco, great bottom lane 2v2 once again. Jin Braum should be able to run this town up against the Varus and the Nautilus, which is going to be very impactful. We saw what Red and Winter were able to do with the favorable matchup last game and how Dardoch played around it. Likewise, I have to think that Comp 9 picked the Vel'Koz for a reason into this Azir. I don't know this matchup, but I'm assuming it's favorable due to the range advantage that Vel'Koz does have. However, my one concern for Team Fish Taco, despite these favorable situations, is if Dardoch isn't able to get ahead or, in fact, falls behind on this Olaf. I think Team Fish Taco's damage is going to fall off pretty substantially the later this game goes, Graves.
Yeah, you rely especially a lot more on Dardoch, especially with a Jhin getting locked in here for Red. I mean, if Jhin can take over a game and can get ahead, it is going to be a lot of damage. But if not, it might be a little bit harder for this team to operate. It's going to be really, again, about how these bot lanes function. Scooped versus Red, Rhino versus Winter. This is what we highlighted at the start of this game. How these two lanes interact and how the junglers will get into there as well and mess things up in one way or another. And I'm just ready to get into Gamehawk. I'm just so excited. One last matchup until hopefully another one eventually in the qualifiers. And I mean, it's just...
I mean, Grapes, during the break, we were talking about how this has been an incredibly close series, incredibly exciting series, and now we're in game 3, right? But it's not been a crazy series in the sense that it's been a fiesta. These teams are playing great League of Legends, and that is why it has been so close. And that's why it has been such a treat to watch it. And I mean, honestly, coming out of the draft, I don't know who I think is going to win game 3. The only thing I say, Team Fish Taco, they've got the momentum, and they've definitely got the early game agency. It's just a matter of whether or not Native can weather the storm this time around.
I'm just hoping, praying to any witch god that is listening that we don't just flip it at level 1. It's not just 5 people running down and like one of the teams gets 3 kills and that's the game, because that would not do the series justice whatsoever. These have been really tightly contested games, even though they haven't even been that long. It was 27 minutes, 30 minutes for each side, but they have both shown strengths at individual points. And it would just be a shame to see that happen. I know we had that before, so I'm just getting that out in the air right now to make sure both teams don't go for it.
And
yeah,
it's a shame too to see you know, that these two teams again have to meet each other in the quarterfinals. We thought this could be a finals matchup, and I mean, look, it's great that we're getting this matchup, period. It is amazing, but I mean, one of them going to take an early exit from this tournament when both of these rosters were built to fight for promotion into the NACL. These teams both want it. Talk to any of these players. They want it badly. Grapes, we're on to the Rift. Game number 3, Native Gaming up against Team Fish Taco.
One last battle between the two teams that had the highest expectations entering the North American Challengers League qualifiers. These are the two teams that people looked at and thought, okay, they are for sure in contention to fight for a spot into the NACL in the summer split. And both teams, I feel like, have been pretty vocal about that as well. That is their goal. Their goal is to not necessarily do well, although that's always important here in the qualifiers. It's to go beyond that. And I think that it would be a real shame to see one of them get knocked out in quarters.
It would be. And Grapes, this is a really minor thing, but nerves, something you need to take into account. Game 3 of the quarterfinals. Scooped forgot to buy items coming out of base initially, which it's very minor, didn't really result in anything, but it is, that's nerves right there on full display. And it is something that you know both these teams are going to be dealing with. This is sort of where you separate the great from the good, right? In these kind of moments, in these kind of games. This Comp 9 already taking some control.
A lot of these players have been in high intensity situations in the past. You know, the people that I can see right now that have not been are, you know, Messages, Shocky, and then maybe Comp 9 in the mid lane as well. But it seems like for now the experience is going to pay off pretty well, as we already see some heavy trading in the bot lane. Red has to burn both of his summoners to get away from that first dredge line out of Rhino.
Very good level 1 from Native Gaming to get the summoners. A summonerless Jhin can be very vulnerable, and you have to think that means that Rhino and Scooped will get control of this bottom lane jungle. Both junglers, for the 3rd time in the series, Grapes, pathing from top to bot, and I have a sneaking suspicion we're gonna see another fight down here around level 3. We've seen it both games before, and yeah, there's no way it doesn't happen again.
And it's going to have to be on Dardoch's will, right? Because Fnatic on Amumu not going to go for like a level 3 invade. That's not what Amumu likes to do. He wants to full clear, get to level 6 as fast as possible.
At least not against Olaf.
Really unplayable later on. Yeah, it would be pretty game losing, I think, if Fnatic decided to go for an invade. So maybe Dardoch wants to go for a play, and if not, it will probably just be Fan looking for a response, because you can see the wave pushed up right now for Native. It's a good opportunity for Dardoch to maybe come in, unless the jungler is there for the other side.
And that is a great point that you bring up, Grapes, though, because in all seriousness, you know, Amumu actually has great ganks, but you can't ever go for a gank if Olaf is in the area. You have to know that Olaf's not around before you can make a play, because the 2v2 in any situation would be
maybe
horrible.
I'm wrong.
They actually are going for the invade. Dardoch, remember, likes to clear low on the Olaf, and without the blue buff, doesn't actually have a lot of mana available.
Native is bit stacked up here, and you can see Comp 9 coming in as well. Winter's going to flash forward, and Native want to go in for this aggressive play. Fnatic will flash forward, try to lock down Dardoch on the other side, but it will just be a one-way trip. First blood secured for TFT, but Messages picks one back up on the other side. Not what Native wanted to do in that exchange. It is a double kill over to Comp 9.
Grapes, we were sitting here joking about it. They actually did it. They went for the invade. It's a triple for Comp 9. The Vel'Koz already had control, and that's the doomsday scenario.
I mean, I don't know what Fnatic was thinking. I know that he likes to go for this pattern. Dardoch doesn't clear blue buff until the 6th camp, so maybe he thought he'd go in for a steal, but...
I mean, Grapes, the idea was fine, but it was Comp 9 was so much faster to the play than Messages. It really was just mid-priority that completely blew it open.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know that Comp 9 is pushing out. Messages have been eating Qs left and right. Yeah. And you still decide to go for that play. Comp 9 was there first. He's now 3-0. He has a full lost chapter at 4 minutes.
He's got double buffs too.
It is impossible to play this out in the mid lane now for Messages.
Dead. Fan is dead if he sees him. Oh my god. Yeah, Fan, there's no way you get out of this. You just have flash.
He's going to actually try to fight this a little bit aggressively as well. Has the Conqueror for a little bit of extra combat stats, and is actually going to continue to go in. Winter is here as well. The Winter's Bite connects, and the stun is there as well. Fnatic just playing this early game way too aggressive, and there's already 4 kills onto Comp 9 Vel'Koz.
Oh my word, Grapes. Critical blunders from the player that has been touted as the best in the tournament on the Amumu. Going down, we said, Native Gaming, they just need to not fall behind. Team Fish Taco's damage will fall off. What sure as hell ain't gonna fall off when Comp 9 is turbo fed in this early game.
It's disaster. I mean, that's all I could say. Native were in such a good position if they just played things out maybe a little bit slower. And they're now down 4-1. They're down 1.7 thousand kills, and this mid lane is just a vacuum that's going to continue to soak pressure, and nobody can do anything about it for who knows how long at this point.
I mean, at this point already, as Native, I'm looking at we need to get level 6s on everybody and try to team fight, but again, you can't ever really fight unless you're one-shotting Comp 9, because when the mid laner's 4-0, if he's ever able to free hit, the amount of damage that this guy will put out is just so much more than what anybody else can do. And now it's Dardoch getting in for a gank. Rhino no flash.
Deadly Flourish landing in. Rhino is certainly dead. The concussive blows as well. Just another bad situation for Native Gaming, as Red will also pick up a kill.
Wow, Grapes, game number 3, Team Fish Taco. They've just come out the gate swinging. After game 1, we were sitting here thinking, what, Native looks amazing. Like, they look invincible, but TFT, they flip the script in game 2. They go more early game. They don't try to match scaling, and they manage to find a win. Now, in game number 3, same story, and damn is it working. Now, Comp 9 has been engaged on, but I don't think there's a kill here.
Actually, might be a kill the other way. Oh my goodness! That is why you do not give 4 kills over to a Vel'Koz. The Life Form Disintegration Ray will do just that to Fnatic again.
I definitely think all of the life was disintegrated from that mummy. Poor Fnatic just wanted a friend in the river, but Comp 9 is an alien and doesn't like friends. He wants to study him instead, and I mean, Grapes, this is a really bad situation. We're sitting here hyping this game up so much, and it might be over at just 7 minutes.
The Dragon going over as well. It is a 3,000 gold lead, 7 minutes in. And, you know, we came into this, we were saying, okay, don't flip it level 1, don't 5-stack bot, everybody go the Earth strategy of just, you know, flipping the game right there. But it is not looking good for Native, and we've just started off this game 3.
Oh, and Messages hasn't even been able to farm. He's down 20 on this Vel'Koz. Comp 9, by the way, farming amazingly despite dropping multiple waves, or rather just roaming a lot. I don't know if he dropped waves, but I mean, just what a game. Great. We spent so much time this series talking about experience versus the young guns on these teams and sort of who's been the carries. Well, in game 3, Ado's most certainly the young gun. Comp 9 stepping into the spotlight and getting the keys to the game.
It's going to be so hard to touch him. I mean, he's so high range. The dive is good for Native, but I don't know if it's good enough. We'll see if it's, you know, maybe a team fight away for getting Native back into this game. But right now, things look relatively grim. The good thing here for Native, of course, is Fnatic did fall behind, but he's playing a Mumu. He's farming up okay after dying a couple of times. Has the ulti, is going to be just as impactful in terms of crowd control as he always would have been. The problem is you continue to sack this pressure, and TFT might just hit you with the wallet before the game even really gets to become a point where Native even want to fight something.
And it's just like what we've seen in the first 2 games, Grapes, where one team is taking all the neutral objectives completely for free. TFT, they get the first dragon really early into the game. They get the Herald right on spawn. It's the exact same formula that we saw last time around, except they're even more accelerated.
It's going to be like, what, like a 9-minute Leandries for Comp 9? He had so much.
It's going to be early.
Lane. Can roam around anywhere he wants. You can already see him making a movement towards the bottom half of the enemy jungle. And maybe, you know, forcing Scooped and Rhino to play super defensively before the wave even really gets under their tower.
I just want to point out, Grapes, we haven't really talked about top lane, but Shocky in the counter matchup, down in CS, but it's a fight around bot. Rhino forced to flash just instantly. It's so hard to play the game when your tank support and your tank jungler aren't able to go in ever.
And now we have to just wait for Native, see what they have up their sleeves. You're not going to be winning any Dragon fights, any Rift Herald fights in the near future. Have to survive as long as they can, get Messages and scooped as many items as possible. You know, it is the on-hit Varus this time around, so a little bit more late-game damage to burst through this front line that TFT has so brilliantly built up for themselves. But you can look at the gold right now, and it's not looking good in that mid lane.
He's 1,000 up on his own jungler, 1,300 up. He's up a whole lost chapter over his lane opponent, who is also one of the richest people on his team. I mean, that is There's a lot of ways we could say that Comp 9 is fed this game, Grapes, but let's just say that Comp 9's fed. I mean, let's call it like it is, right?
He's very fed. Very, very fed. Might find an opportunity here. There comes the flash from Fnatic. Might try to redeem some of his past sins, but Comp 9 gets away. The bandage toss gets dodged away from, and there comes the Ray once again, zapping Fnatic out of existence.
I mean, it feels like Native Gaming, they go for broke with the engage. Now Rhino is the target.
He's gonna be in a whole lot of trouble as well. There comes the Ragnarok. There, the Dredge line not gonna save him from a whole lot. The trap to slow him down a little bit more, and Dardoch will pick up the kill. It is 8-1, 3,500 gold in favor of Team Fish Taco.
Grapes, it just feels over. They used everything. They tried to get Comp 9. They did get the flash, maybe, with the next shuffle. There's an angle, but that second bandage toss, I think if that hit, I think Fnatic actually picks it up. But he didn't. It went wide. And the Braum counter gank from Winter was there. Beautifully played by Team Fish Taco once again. They are just flexing their muscles in this game.
And now Shockey's in some trouble as well. Procs the world ender, but there comes the ulti and the ignite. That's just another solo kill. It is winning on all angles of the map for TFT.
Grandpa still got it. He did it in game number 1. Welpy's doing it in game number 2 as well. Allura, man, just taking over. Team Fish Taco, they're taking over Grapes. And man, this gets to the point in the game where me and my friends in Discord, we're coming up with all the wacky ways we can like find like a really long shot engage. It's like, okay, everyone camp this bush, like this really obscure bush. Maybe they walk by it. Because it feels so impossible for Native to make a play of their own.
There's another free dragon as well. And I think TFT are in a good position to end this one rather quickly, send themselves into the semifinals with the date against Maryville. They don't even want the Drake just yet. They see a very squishy Varus and think that's a good opportunity to try and go in. Nobody can stop Comp 9. That is his 6th kill of the game in 12 freaking minutes.
That's like the meme where it's like, huh? I'm in danger because Scooped was left alone for that one. He's unlucky.
Fnatic maybe looking for something. I mean, I don't know. A steal would be nice, but I don't think it really saves you from this situation that you are in. And the top side's still going to Lorem's way as well. I mean, he's just unkillable. Has the Radiant Virtue as well for just even more sustain. It's not looking good. It's 5K in the lead for them. And you have to wonder what Native's approach was for this game. I mean, it seemed like they wanted to kind of play things out slow, just not get invaded on by Dardoch, but they actually went aggressive and they paid rather heavily.
It was just such a critical blunder. Grapes, I figured out why this has happened. It was after I said that we both picked Native to be #1 on our ballot, despite TFT being the #1 seed, and TFT was like, wait a minute, no, we got to prove why we were #1 seed and prove Hawk and Grapes wrong.
I think not just Hawk and Grapes. I mean, they have to prove a lot of people wrong. They dropped the game against Tony Top. You know, they were not. They're the 2nd seed coming in. That's why these two teams are matched up. And I mean, making plays like this sure looks good for them. Scooped is dead again, and Native kind of falling apart as we speak. It's really just a tough look out of this team that we thought had so much promise coming into the split.
They were again one that we expected to contest for relegation, or rather promotion, and I mean they still could, right? Getting quarterfinals as long as they get a top 4 next tournament. You know, they're still in a great spot, but we talked about it earlier. Only 4 spots to the promotion tournament. It's so minimal, the number of teams that get in there, which means that, I mean, hitting top 4 just makes all of the difference in the world as far as being able to get up to that level. Shockey, I mean, starting to take some control up here now that he's got the Black Cleaver completed, but that is bot tower being killed, and Grapes, my screen's a little pixelated, so I can't quite see, but is this a 7,000 gold advantage right now for Team Fish Taco?
6.9, but yeah, basically, it's looking pretty nice for them right now. I mean, they just have so much control in this game. One of the this is a moment like after that engage by Fnatic that goes awry, like you pause the game in a scrim and say, okay, can we go next? Like, we don't want to play this one anymore. Like, it's just really, really difficult. Team fighting pieces are still there for Native, but they're just so far behind. I mean, Comp 9 is seemingly unstoppable on this Vel'Koz. I mean, maybe you could burst him down, but we saw what happened last time around. When Fnatic comes in, Messages comes in, all the crowd control is there, and still nothing out of the side of Native.
You know, we've talked a lot about the mistakes that Native has made, which I think rightfully so is Rhino can't play the game, but You know, I want to praise Team Fish Taco because in this series, they have done so much to match everything that Native does. Understanding their win conditions, understanding their limits.
What?
Just gonna die. Um,
What?
I don't know what to say to that one, Grapes. I think it's best that we don't acknowledge it because once again, it actually goes into the point I was gonna make where Native, they can't ever cross-map against Alorum. That is the value that this player brings to a team. Is he's uncross-mappable. They have to hit towards the strong side, but it means that, just like we saw last game, like we're seeing this game, when TFT gets ahead in the strong side of the map, in the bottom side of the map, Native all of a sudden completely runs out of options to be able to bring this game back. TFT has hung nobody out to dry. They've left nobody to the wolves. They've saved every single play, matched everything that Native has done, and it's led them to this point.
I'm kind of just in shock at this point. Like, this is not the expectations that we had going into this game number 3. It was such high quality gameplay from so many different sides. Whether like every player had their moment in all of the each of the 2 games, and it just, I don't know, like the way that it's this series looks like it's ending
kill him.
is not a good look for any of this. And you know, we could try to kill Alorum here, find as many picks as we can, but I don't know.
He's fine.
He's gonna die, I guess.
Oh, okay.
But the kill goes to,
Rhino!
it's just, I don't know. That's something, but I don't think it's a lot.
And it's on a Rhino. I mean, that's how this game is going Native, even when they actually do get a play. It's still bad, and Shocky overstaying. Dardoch gonna claim his 4th kill of the game, Graves.
Gold has, you know, hovered around 7,000 for the last 5 minutes or so. If you
And we're scaling. We're scaling. Okay.
throw something in there. I mean, if we get to 3 items, which seems rather unlikely at this point.
If we didn't get to 3 items last game, there is no way it happens this game, right? I mean, at that point, I'll just be impressed. If
Native can hold on. I mean, they're looking for picks, right? It's something here.
This could be something.
Yeah.
Oh
No. No.
Oh,
Oh, it's this disaster.
that is
After
so
disaster.
upsetting.
Messages is right. This is not. Bro, I don't know.
That is really upsetting. I mean, the idea from Native was actually really good. I love that. Comp 9 was dead if Rhino got over the wall a second sooner to throw out that dredge line, but Comp 9 in the nick of time gets out. Dragon now going to be the 3rd one, and Graves, this time it's not a Cloud Soul. It is a Hex Tech Soul, which I think many people would say is the best one in the game. So, yeah, it's just more and more advantages. Team Fish Taco. They are big. I don't know, Graves, what's like a baseball or a basketball reference, or one of the references that we know to like describe how this game went?
In a baseball game, it's a situation where you take your pitchers out, you want to save them all, you throw in like your backup right fielder and say, all right, buddy, here's the ball, go pitch right now. I mean, honestly, by the looks of it, it's kind of like what they're doing. Like, Fnatic might have another person behind his computer because this is just not what we're expecting out of him. A player that we have hyped up so much, and it's just not looking like what we're expecting out of this team.
It is an unceremonious end. Dardoch the Giga Chad just gonna hex gate into the enemy jungle. That is pretty awesome. And Grapes, I also feel like this is another way to frame it in baseball is we're gonna go to extra innings. We're super excited, and then the home team gives up like 12 runs in the first inning of extras.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's like, well, that's that, you know.
I was at a Yankee game, and similar situation happened. It was extras, and okay, hold on, I gotta. Okay,
it was he's fine.
Yankees versus Rays. It was a really close game all along. We were going to extra innings, and then the Rays score 3 runs in the top of the 10th, and we think it's all over. Like, there's no way the Yankees come back. But then Josh Donaldson comes in, walk-off grand slam, down by 4, so in the bottom of the 10th. So
okay,
it's possible. There are situations where people can come back from this certain circumstance, but it's gonna they're gonna need a whole lot of things to go right if you are Native Gaming. This might be a potential angle. You see messages coming in with the teleport, but there's just so much frontline on the Team Fish Taco side. They forced the flash out of Comp 9. And Native actually looking to continue to chase forward. Winter and Dardoch are just so menacing though, and here comes
Counter
the
TP.
TP on the other side from Alorum. Fnatic is almost dead before the fight can even go, but they might have found a pick on the red. Shocky gets the shutdown, but nobody can touch Comp 9 on the other side. The disintegration rate is a good amount of damage onto the Aatrox, and that's a double kill onto the Olaf of Dardoch. Comp 9 goes godlike, and TFT certainly will as well. They are headed to the Baron as it is perfectly spawned at just the 20-minute mark.
Now, I will say, Death Timers are short in this Baron. Never mind, it's not going to take long to do it all because Comp 9 is insanely fed, so is Dardoch. I really thought this would take longer. This one's going down, Grapes, and, I mean, hey, that was not the Grand Slam right there, as,
No.
I mean, I respect it, Native, they go for broke, but it's just...
A long high fly ball to right field. Think it's
Yeah.
going out. The cameraman thinks it's going out, so he pans the camera up a little bit too far.
Right.
And it falls into the glove of an outfielder, and that is the game. I don't think it's comebackable from this point. Team Fish Taco up 10,000 gold in 2.5 minutes. They're going to have a Hex Tech Soul in their back pocket as well. And look at the gold right now for this team. Dardoch is 3,500 gold up. So is, everybody else on this team as well.
They're a little fed. A little fed. To continue the baseball reference, I'm so sorry if someone here doesn't watch baseball. And
Yeah.
like, what the hell are these guys talking about? But, like, at this point, what Native needs is they need, like, the inside the park home run where, like, it goes between a guy's legs. They throw it past first base. Yeah. Like, just complete chaos. Mega throw from TFT. Grapes, I've seen bigger leads thrown for what that's worth. I don't think it's going to happen, but I've seen teams win these before. If not for complete BS.
Let's take a step back. Red and Scoop, even on itemization. They both have 2 completed items. They're Crit Amplifier and Tier 2 boots. Fnatic is still going to do some damage here. Might find an opportunity in on the Comp 9. That is the carry that you need to go for. Messages scoops him under the Tier 2, and a big shutdown goes the way of Scoop. Native Gaming might try to turn this game around, but they trade one back. Messages goes down, and Fnatic seem to follow under the turret. It's double kill going over the way of Red. They get the carry. What will they lose off of it?
Well, I mean, it's something. They got the shuffle. Comp 9 didn't have the flash, and Fnatic and Messages found the angle. Scooped. The gold is in your pocket, my friend. What can you do with the TFT? They're going to at least get an inhibitor. They're posturing forward. There is no way they tried to end the game with them respawning 15, right?
But look at how tanky everybody is. Red just has
They're
to hit towers, and everybody else can do the rest. Shocky is taken out with the World Ender.
5 seconds.
Winter will lock him down with the Winter's Bite. Dardoch is running under the fountain. Gets shut down. The tower takes down Winter. Oh no! Are we throwing on the opposite side? This is not what you wanted to see out of
JP.
The teleport comes in from Comp 9 just for some extra reinforcements. But Native, they get a lot of gold right back. I mean, they have the money. Can they potentially find something else? Oh no, Mets just comes in off of the Hex Gate, gets spotted out by 3 members. Rhino in as well. This might be the turn that they need. They have the numbers advantage. Alorum has to dash away. And on the other side, here comes the hook. Alorum still taking a lot of damage, but Comp 9 will one-shot him. Fnatic over the wall as well. Doesn't have the ulti, so no additional lockdown is there. Message is trying to hit onto the other side of the fight, but he will come dashing in. There's the bandage toss. There's the shuffle. Messages is burning Comp 9 down, and he gets him with the Leandry's proc.
Can they get
the
red?
Dragon is up. Native can deny the soul.
Native! They might be doing it, Grapes! It's a little in from TFT now. They're still up 10,000 gold. Alorum coming in with the TP. Scooped is alone against the Sejuani. He's gonna die. How many can get out?
Scooped is going to die. There comes the bandage toss out. I think this Amumu is dead as well. There comes the deadly flourish. It is now 2 members dead for Native and 4 up for Taco. I don't know if they can continue to go for the end. Shocky and
no
Messages
TP.
do DPS to galore. But they're going to try to break open more of this base.
No
the
Baron.
Inhibitor tower is under fire.
No Baron. I don't think they can end Grapes. Rhino gonna try to draw the lines of defense. Scooped is in here.
The World
the
Ender.
one with the
Can he
gold.
tank up enough damage? No, he cannot. Taken down by Dardoch. Now Rhino and Messages are the only ones left alive, and Rhino is not dead for much longer. It is 10 seconds on Scoop. I think Taco are not going to try to end, but they will get 2 inhibitors, and at the end of the day, despite all the angles that we maybe have found, the gold lead is even higher than it was at the start.
They're sticking around!
Messages is still around here, but here comes Scoop, here comes Fnatic. There is no ulti on the Amumu, so no big crowd control can be had. Flash Shuffle is up in a couple of seconds. Messages can maybe punish if they stick around for a bit too long, but Comp 9 is here. Team Fish Taco they thought about it for a second, but they're not going to throw the game here off of another potential flip.
Wow. Graves, it's 24 minutes into the game, and they got to scream our heads off already. I
How
mean,
how did this become interesting?
I don't know. It's an 11, 12,000 gold lead. Like, it's not close at all. And yet Native, they actually managed to hold. Scooped has 3 items. Scooped has 3 items on Varus, on hit Varus, off of the shutdowns that have been picked up. I mean, maybe there is the slimmest chance that when his flash comes back up
3 items
for this Baron, you can find the fight. That has to be the only angle, is keep Scooped alive. Comp 9, for as fed as he may be, honestly hasn't been able to hit anyone that's not a frontliner on Native.
It's 3 items on both AD carries now. The front line for TFT is still so much to work through, though. If a good Lifeform Disintegration raid comes out from Comp 9, that is just the game. Everybody on Native is squishy enough to just go down to 1 ulti if he is left untouched.
Yeah.
And we just have to wait. Baron in a minute.
Like
that is the next point of contention for TFT. Native are going to have to fight around it at some capacity. Like, what are they going to do?
I feel like it comes down to Fan. Flash coming back up. Can you get the game-winning Curse of the Sad Mummy or the game-saving ultimate? I feel like that is the only way. You've got to draw a line in the sand at this inhibitor.
No, TFT, they don't even want the Baron. They want to end right now. Scoop is locked up and taken out by Ryu Red. 2 straight kills onto the Jhin, the newest member on Team Fish Taco. And that might be the nail in the coffin. There is no more damage available for TFT. Messages has to do some miracle work here. Fnatic will flash forward and lock up
No
4,
follow-up.
but there's nobody else to follow up. Dardoch dashes in. Messages will get 1 and try to save the game. He flashes under the fountain. Winter is still taking the tower. He will go down as well.
Hold on.
Messages has to regen as soon as he possibly can. Here comes the hook out of Rhino. Not enough DPS just yet. Alarm is down. Only Messages remains. The Nexus towers are still up and running. Will Messages be able to buy enough time? I don't think the answer is yes. The Nexus is exposed. 2 seconds on Scoop. Here comes Messages. He gets the 1-for-1. And now Taco has to run away.
They saved
How
it!
are they still in this game?
Native Gaming saves it once again, this time off the back of Messages. Are you kidding me, Grapes? 15,000 in the hole. They will never die.
Oh. What the hell? What is happening?
I can't believe. I mean, this game is over, right? Like, it has to be. It has to be.
Is it? Is it, Hawk? I ask you
Inhibitor's back up. And Inhibitor's back up. I mean, Baron's gone. Baron is certainly gone. Native, they're going to have to win another fight. Fan used the flash engage, but Comp 9 and Red don't have theirs available anymore. 13,000 gold is the lead. It's going to go to 15,000 after this Baron drops. This is unbelievable. Don't ever say it's over if I'm breathing. My God, Native, they are staying together by the skin of their teeth.
And look at the itemization points again. I mean, Void Staff has been picked up, 4 Messages. Fnatic nearing that completion of the Radiant Virtue. That could be enough maybe to keep Scooped alive, to help out the rest of Native. Rhino has 2 items as well. He's got a Knight's Vow onto Messages. They are be able to dish out DPS. But Team Fish Taco, they're just still so far ahead. 13,000 gold is the lead. And I don't know if it's enough. They have the Baron buff as well. Is only the Nexus exposed. They could probably just run it straight down.
They can't go contest the Soul. Native has to clear these Baroned up super minions for fear of losing the game with an exposed Nexus. Please go wide.
Rhino's alive for now. Can he get inside the base?
He's fine.
Looks like the answer is yes.
They're going to lose the Soul.
Yeah, they can turn their eyes to the Soul. They have every other control of this rift except for the enemy Nexus. Every other structure has been taken down in some capacity, and they can only wait until this Nexus goes down. Native is just hovering around their base. They want to make sure that they get as strong as they possibly can before what seems like another final defense.
Grapes, just to give us another nice shot of copium right here. Messages, 3 items on Azir. Scooped has 4. I mean, the carries, they're online. If there's a will, there's a way. I've seen crazier things. Fan taking the Hexgate.
Oh, he's spotted though. He's spotted on a control ward. Cannot go in too far. The Baroned up minions are strong, but the wave clear from Native might be stronger. Mid lane inhibitor is also up. If TFT want to play this out slow, they can go across all of the lanes and just finish off all of the crystals once more. But you can see already, the Soul is doing so much work. 1 tap onto anybody means so much damage going over.
Here they
Rhino
go.
looking for an engage. This might be the final fight. The Disintegration Ray will lock down Rhino, and Shocky is still alive. Fnatic lands a big mummy on the backside, but it is not enough for Native. The shuffle comes in for messages, but he will certainly fall. Scoop dies as well. It is a double kill for both Red and Dardoch, and Team Fish Taco will prove why they were seeded number 1. They will take the series against Native 2-1, and they will enter the semifinals on Saturday with a date against Maryville.
What a series, Grapes. Native, they're taking an early exit. Unfortunate for them, but TFT, man, what high quality League of Legends we just witnessed. They even made this last game entertaining for us just to get us a little excited. I mean, damn. The early games from this team, the cross mapping, the coordination, it was all there. What an incredible turn of events.
And it just goes back to that early game once again, Hawk, and it pains me so much. That triple kill onto Comp 9, Fnatic going for the aggressive invade. I mean, I could see a world where Fnatic is thinking, you know, Dardoch is going to invade me. I might as well be the one to pull the trigger first, but I mean, you're losing priority, both mid and bot. They both just come up at the right time, and it is just, the game is just so much harder after that. And congratulations to TFT for capitalizing off of that, but man, you just wonder what Native really can do if they're put in a bit of a better spot in game number 3.
I mean, that really was the critical error. I mean, there's no other way around it. That was the moment that the series was lost for Native Gaming. And I mean, it's such a shame to see them bow out early like this. A really great team. I think Native showed a lot of good things today, but Team Fish Taco, they were just better, and they're setting themselves up beautifully now to contend for promotion at the end of the split. They are definitely set up beautifully to contend for a win in NACL qualifier number 1, Graves.
And I think if you came into this series, you have Native as a favorite. TFT have looked shaky as all hell throughout this entire qualifier. They dropped the game to CB Gaming. They dropped the game to Zenigma. They lost to Tony Top. And Native,
they're just making it exciting. I don't know, man.
and on the other side, you think Native has looked pretty good throughout. You know, they may have dropped one game, but other than that, it's just been pretty big domination. That 2-0 against Ambition was really, really promising for them. And it just is TFT proving all of any potential doubters wrong. They entered this scene rated first for a reason, and they're going to have a really good matchup against Maryville on Saturday.
Yeah, y'all are not going to want to miss that one, because that is going to be a great series. And I mean, the last thing I want to say about this team is we spent so much time talking about the boomers, the zoomers, who's been around, who hasn't. And Team Fish Taco, they passed the ball around to everybody. Sometimes it was Comp 9, sometimes it was Red, sometimes it was Alorum, sometimes it was Dardoch. Everyone had their moment to be the hero for that team. And that, to me, is truly impressive and the mark of a great team.
And I'm excited to see more of them. Of course, we will see more Native later on, but if we look at the points right now, Team Fish Taco has guaranteed themselves at least 80 qualifier points, and Native is stuck at 60 until the next OQ. They're going to need a really good run in that second qualifier, which we know that they are capable of, to make sure that they are in that promotion relegation tournament, which again is what this roster was built to do. And there's a tough road ahead. Best of luck to them, and we hope that this is another matchup that we can revisit in the later stages of this tournament.
I would hope so, because, I mean, that is definitely not all we're going to see of Native this split, I am certain, Grapes. You're saying they're capable of making a deep run. I think it's going to happen. But Team Fish Taco, they won on the day. They are victorious after a grueling 3-game series.
And that's going to do it for us on the Salty Runback stream. I'm not sure exactly if Alk Battery is running Team Ambition versus Supernova. They are tied 1-1. I'm receiving word from production. They are going to be playing against Dewey and Tony Top in the semifinals. You're going to want to go over to that stream right now. We'll hit it with a raid as soon as we are concluded here. But thank you very much, Hawk. Thank you to Caddy doing production as well.
Yeah.
And thank you to all of you who have
Shout
stuck around and watched some more NACLQ. We will be back on Saturday for the second semifinal on Salty Runback channel. We'll have a new episode of the podcast out on Wednesday. But until then, we will say so long. Have a wonderful rest of your day.